talk some Royals baseball with him. And Kendall Gammons will be our guest at 11 o'clock. And we will talk with Kendall Gammons about the unfortunate news this morning, and that is the passing of Len Dawson. You know, it doesn't come as a shock or a surprise, unfortunately, because of less than a couple of weeks ago when he was entered into hospice. You knew that it was going to be soon, unfortunately, and people at that point already started to reminisce about Len Dawson and the things that they remember about him because, you know, ultimately we know the path at that point. And this morning we get the news that he has passed away in a statement released through KMBC and through his family about his passing with his lovely wife at his side. And a life well lived, and a life that people are remembering and talking about and reminiscing and being nostalgic about throughout the day today. And certainly I've done that as well. In, you know, hearing about Len Dawson passing, you know, your first thought is, man, well, many people may have different first thoughts. My first thought is, it is a Mount Rushmore Kansas City sports icon that has passed. And people can have their own, like, top 4 or 5 sports icons in the city. They can have their own opinions, but if you're talking about those that would be deserving, it's, you know, Len Dawson, George Brett, Tom Watson, Buck O'Neil, some that may ultimately get there as time passes. Maybe number 15 for the Chiefs in 20 years. You're like, yeah, he's definitely up there. But right now, when you talk about the legacies, the icons, those that have meant so much to the city for so long, Len Dawson was absolutely that. He was, you know, one of many that have played their careers in Kansas City and decided to stay and make their home Kansas City. And not everybody does that. And we take pride in the city. We take pride in what we have to here in Kansas City. And we love it that when other people realize what we have felt throughout our lives, and they say, boy, Kansas City is, you know, whether you want to call it a hidden gem or it's just a really nice place to raise a family, to live out the rest of your life. And I got the opportunity because I played a sport here in this city. We see that with baseball players. We see that with football players as well. And Len Dawson, no doubt, was that guy as well. And then getting into the broadcasting side. And, you know, I want to hear from Josh and Drake as well on, you know, just thoughts of Len Dawson. What's amazing on so many levels, there's some amazing aspects of his life, but, you know, he was something different to different generations. Like my dad's generation, he was Lenny the Cool because of what he did on the field and bringing AFL championships and bringing an NFL Super Bowl and being a, you know, AFL Player of the Year and being the MVP and, you know, the numbers that he put up and Hall of Fame and things like that. They remember him from that, legitimizing what the Chiefs, you know, this city in football could be. Dallas Texans moving here to Kansas City in the AFL and then trying to gain respect on the level of the NFL that you knew just simply turned their nose up at you at the AFL and thought it was just an inferior product and trying to prove that it is not an inferior product. It is an equal product. And the Chiefs were the first ones to get that opportunity. And Len Dawson has talked about it before that, you know, that one pass in the second half to start the game, the second half against the Packers down 14-10, that, you know, gets hit while he was throwing the ball and flutters in the air. And instead of a first down, it's a pick six. And, you know, ultimately at that point, kind of an end of the game. But he talks about that because it was that game, an entire league was put on the shoulders of the Chiefs. An entire league and players trying to prove their worth was on the Chiefs, and he's discussed that one pass, and it's interesting, all of the things that he has accomplished in his life, that one stays with him because of what it meant, because of then, you know, you have Lombardi saying, well, we told you guys that this team, you know, the AFL, nice little league, but they cannot compete with us. and then to get the revenge to then, 3 Super Bowls later to go up against another heavy favorite NFL Minnesota Vikings and win that game. And so that's who he was to, a different generation. And to my generation, he was Len Dawson, the ex-football player and the broadcaster and the sportscaster and the color commentator for the Chiefs, and he was on Inside the NFL, and it was cool. Inside the NFL was awesome because it was one of our own that was there. I'm like, oh, Len Dawson, yeah, I see him on Channel 9, and there he is right there. This is awesome, man. One of our guys is there with all these great quarterbacks, really not understanding because, at that time, social media, Google, all of that stuff wasn't really, internet, computers not really around, and so you couldn't just go back and say, oh, look at what Len Dawson did. Look at all these numbers. Look at this. Look at that. It was just stories passed down, and it was cool to see somebody that was on the TV, on cable, that was, talking about the NFL, and his expertise was being used. Like, that's what so many of my generation, they remember Len Dawson for. And I think a couple of takeaways for me from Len Dawson. I tweeted out this morning that, he was nicknamed Lenny the Cool. I did not know that his nickname was Lenny the Cool because of his composure on the field and how he played. I really thought his nickname was Lenny the Cool because of just kind of who he was. That he was kind of just a cool guy. Like, that guy is just freaking cool, man. Because whenever I would be around him, and being here at the station when he did an hour with the Border Patrol in the morning, and I was lucky enough to, at that time, be doing the sports centers for the Border Patrol and early in my, full-time career here at 810. And so to spend even just a little bit of time, like the way he walked was just sort of a subtle, non-arrogant, natural kind of strut. He kind of glided just through the hallways that it was just kind of who he was. And I always thought he was Lenny the Cool because he was just freaking cool. And that's the guy I got to know. The guy that, was critical of the Chiefs when warranted. A guy who was not afraid to give his opinion while sitting next to Mitch Holthus and talking about the Chiefs that are playing right there and knowing that the Chiefs front office and fans and coaches are going to hear you say that, but ain't nobody questioning Len Dawson. And I thought that was really, I appreciated that because of the honest opinion from Len Dawson, because Chiefs fans are not dumb. And Royals fans and fans in Kansas City are not dumb. They know when you're trying to spin something in a way that you're like, come on, man, let's just simply call a spade a spade. And Len Dawson did that. And I love that he wasn't a homer because you knew when he gave praise, it was legitimate, it was real. And I've taken stuff in broadcasting away from that, as in, like, I don't have the stature of Len Dawson with the Chiefs, obviously, to where somebody can go, well, Len Dawson's saying it, shut up, who cares? This guy's got the right to say it. But it's a matter of present what you really think, and if it's negative, it's negative. It's positive. If it's always positive, then nobody's ever going to know if it's warranted. But if you're willing to critique and be, negative at times when warranted, then when you're giving praise, you know that that's earned. The prized possession, one of the prized possessions in my man cave is my Len Dawson signed football. He was in here all the time, and so I'm like, you know what, I've got to do this because, I'm kind of a child here. And so I go in and buy one of those autographed footballs, real size NFL football with the white panel on it, and I give it to him just to sign, and he gives it back to me, and it says, Len Dawson, Super Bowl IV MVP, Hall of Fame 87. I'm like, I thought he was just going to put his name on that, right?
He could have written an L and a D, and you'd be like, hey, look at this.
Here you go, son. Go ahead. He could have been Marcus Allen and just slowly glided and strutted right past me. But he takes the football, goes into a different room, and then signs it and brings it back. I'm like, dude, that's freaking amazing. And it's been in one of those full-size football cases ever since. And I thought, well, that was above and beyond. He doesn't know me from Adam. I'm just a guy walking around here, right? I'm not Nate or Steven or Jake or Aaron Swartz. Like, he did that for just some random dude here that he went to that link. Even that little thing, like, I'm not just going to flippantly sign my name. No, Len Dawson, Super Bowl IV MVP, Hall of Fame 87, put on there.
I don't want to speak for Lynn Dawson, but I think the reason he did that, and I'm going to read you something from somebody else here in a second.
Yeah, please.
But the reason he did that was because he knew that he was Lynn Dawson to you. You know what I mean? Like,
it's an interesting point.
Not himself. So Sam Mellinger, obviously, long time of the Kansas City Star, now with the Royals, tweeted, "There's something so charming and endearing when a legend treats others like they're the star. That was Lynn Dawson to so many in Kansas City. Won't ever be another like him." I have a picture that I should probably just tweet out at some point. I was probably 18 or 19, and freshman year of college, I think, we got to tour the Arrowhead. It ended up, this is gonna date me, but young. It was one of the Chiefs Chargers collapses. There's on TV, me and the guy that I was there with through the school were like standing at the back of the end zone where I think Keenan Allen scored a touchdown with like 2 seconds left or whatever it was. It might not have been Keenan Allen, I don't know. But we got to tour the broadcast booth and everything. And kind of to your point, I don't do a lot of, hey, can you sign this? Hey, can I get a picture? Whatever, specifically people in media. And obviously, I wasn't really in media then. I was trying to be. But one of the things that kind of hit me, remembering that and looking back on that picture and my truly atrocious haircut, which you will be able to see if I tweet it out. And then with all of the news today, also kind of to just sort of put ourselves on the timeline of who we knew Lynn Dawson to be. I'm 27. I'll be 28 in a few months. So I have both been thinking about death a lot because I'm in my late 20s.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And also I knew Lynn Dawson as a longtime Chiefs broadcaster. I didn't know him from inside the NFL. I knew him from Chiefs games. I knew him from being the color commentator. And so the thing that was sort of striking to me then, it reminded me of something my mom said whenever I had sent her that picture from that day at Arrowhead. A few years before that, my grandpa on her side, her dad had passed. And she said something about like how excited he would have been to see that picture. And the thing that highlights what you kind of touched on there at one point is that he was a Mount Rushmore Kansas Cityan for almost 60 years, at least 50. For 50 years, he was a star here. He was a Mount Rushmore Kansas Cityan for half of a century to decades and decades and decades of people. My grandpas have memories of him as a player, I'm sure. My parents have memories of what their parents told them and then knew him from getting into broadcasting. I didn't know the specifics of how he would take off his shoulder pads at practice and then grab a microphone so he could do interviews as the quarterback of the team with his teammates when he was playing quarterback and working for KMBC. I knew very little about that until I was researching some things whenever he was transferred to hospice care. He was so many different things to so many generations of people that I don't know if it's possible for anyone else to do that. Patrick Mahomes is not going to start also doing a show here while being an active quarterback where he's interviewing Travis Kelce after practice. Mahomes might buy the Royals. I don't, who knows? He could be a part of Kansas City for the rest of his life. But for Lenny, it was the dawn of a new sport, essentially, in a new framing of all of that, from the AFL to the merged NFL to Kansas City's place in that, where he was the quintessential Kansas City Chief and Kansas City icon over half of a century, where everyone in Kansas City knew who Lynn Dawson was, and until he retired from radio in 2017. You have an incredible scope there, connecting generations to generations to generations, where we all knew Lynn Dawson as something, but most of us, as generations went by, knew him most from something different. It's kind of, honestly, I hadn't made this connection until just now. I was trying to think why all of the things I'm saying right now sound so familiar. John Madden is the only other person in football, and Lenny is Kansas City, right? But the way we were talking about John Madden whenever he died was some of that same stuff. Yeah. You knew him as a coach or a broadcaster or a video game pioneer.
Or video games, yeah.
But I never knew John Madden, the football coach. I knew him a little bit from the broadcasting. I knew everything about him through the game with his name on it. And on sort of a Kansas City equivalent scale, Lynn Dawson hit a lot of the same boxes.
Drake, what do you think of and your thoughts on Lynn Dawson?
Well, somebody who grew up in mid-Missouri, and Kansas City was the big city when I started working here, and I would walk into the building, and some days George Brett would be here, and some days Lynn Dawson would be here. And they were both, they were pretty much on the same level as far as, Kansas City royalty goes. But they're both such incredible guys, but George was intense. And Lenny, like I said, I always thought maybe the Lenny the Cool was just because he was just whatever, here we go, you're a good dude. And I don't think there's anybody in Kansas City who wanted at some point in their life a Lynn Dawson autograph that doesn't have one, because he was always so generous. And I love flipping through Facebook and Twitter today, and just about everybody in Kansas City is posting a picture they have with Lynn Dawson, because he was always taking time out for folks. And I remember when we opened that first 810 zone, that great corner booth that was all Lynn Dawson with stuff from his restaurant. And I think maybe in our trophy case up here now we have one of his original helmets. And I was walking past earlier today, and I was like, wow, I feel so fortunate that I got to be. I didn't know him, he didn't know me, but got to be around him. He'd come in and cut commercials or whatever, and it was always great to see him. And he always just had a great, not really energy, just a great presence. Yeah, absolutely.
That's right. Not necessarily an energy, because he was so sort of laid back, but I mean, just kind of just gliding in, leaving and gliding out. See you guys later.
Kind of an Obi-Wan Kenobi vibe, like late trilogy, like original trilogy Obi-Wan kind of thing.
It was amazing. Like, that nickname sort of came natural to him. He was just kind of cool. Like, again, I didn't know his nickname was because of what he did on the field. I thought it was just because he was just his general persona, that he was just, man, that guy's so cool. Just look at, man, that guy's 70 years old. God, he's so cool.
Did you ever hear what he said about sweat? I saw this for the first time today. I haven't read the whole story yet. Rustin Dodd wrote something in The Athletic. I haven't read it yet. But
you're going to have to give me I can paraphrase it, but I want the actual quote. I have an idea of what it is. But
from Hank Stram's quote here. I said to him once, Leonard, make sure that you never let them see you sweat. And he said, Coach, quarterbacks don't sweat. Quarterbacks perspire. It's really cool. Yeah. It's really cool.
It's amazing.
I mean, this even draws back to yesterday. This is kind of a weird jump, but like Patrick Mahomes being in Fortnite last night. Ninja, the most famous streamer who's come out of the streaming world since this all became a thing. Ninja was tweeting out clips of him winning Fortnite playing as Patrick Mahomes. Right?
Yeah.
For kids right now, that is absolutely unfathomable. But in a city also that ultimately is bookended right now by Lynn Dawson to Patrick Mahomes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, it was out of the AFL. It was out of a league that wasn't supposed to be there. It was the championship in Super Bowl IV. It was, again, the impact across generations of the sport. Also, I mean, if we want to keep going through other Kansas City Mount Rushmore, or at least Kansas City sports Mount Rushmore people, we talked about Buck O'Neil a lot. Obviously, he's been gone for a while, but the induction brought everything back up to the surface. You hear people talk about Buck O'Neil as the educator and the storyteller that he was. We have a very small group now of guys who are on those early Chiefs teams, but we were all better off for having all of those guys, and particularly Lynn Dawson, having their perspective and their connection to the history there. Mm-hmm. That is so easily lost, I think, if you don't make an effort to keep it, because it's something that happened a long time ago. You know what? I don't know. I wasn't there. What does it mean? You need somebody who can draw you back to that, and he did that for 50 freaking years. Yep,
absolutely. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. There are a couple of tributes that have been put out there, and we will we'll play some of those throughout the show. Again, we'll talk to Kendall Gaiman coming up at 11 o'clock. Jeff Montgomery is going to join us at noon. Mick Schaefer coming up in the 1 o'clock hour. More Zone rolling along next.
The last 2 pandemic years meant websites have been more important than ever, but websites are just one tool. For the past 26 years, Digital Lagoon, located right here in Overland Park, has been developing websites, but also providing comprehensive digital marketing programs. They use social media, SEO, and targeted online ads. WHB used Digital Lagoon when they wanted a major upgrade to the ESPN Kansas City website. Working with the programmers, graphic designers, and marketing specialists face-to-face was a great experience. Contact Jordan at digitallagoon.com.
All right, so the leaves are going to start falling soon. It is football season. Look, there's some football coming up this weekend. And the one thing that is always troublesome when it comes to the leaves falling is the gutters getting clogged. Then you get the rain coming in. Then you get the water overflowing from the gutters. You don't want to have to worry about that. I've never had to worry about that, whether it was living in apartments or our previous home had the gutter guards on there. But you know what? This house we're living in right now, we don't have that. And so I went and called Hey Gutter Guy because I wanted to not have to get on a ladder and try to go up there and clean out the gutters. And also we had gutter damage. We had areas where it was spilling over and it was causing issues with the landscaping as well. So I wanted to get it fixed and not have to worry about it ever again. And that's why I went to heygutterguy.com. You can do that today. And no matter if you just bought your first home or if you've lived there for 40 years, the Gutter Guy will take care of all of your gutter needs, whether you need gutter installation, gutter repair, gutter leaf protection. We needed all of that. We needed repairs, we needed installation for some spots, and we needed the protection. And I loved meeting with him because when he comes out there, he immediately starts talking about, okay, here's some things you may need. You may not need it over there, but let's talk budget. Okay, let's work within that and see what we can maximize here. And there was a spot in our backyard where it was overflowing and it was just spilling onto the concrete around the basketball court, around the basketball goal. And it was starting to break that up a little bit. And I'm like, we got to get that fixed. All new gutters up there. And he was like, you don't need new gutters up there. I'm like, well, what do you mean? He goes, no, see, what's happening is this thing has come out just a little bit. Boom, that can be repaired. And when it's overflowing over here, you just have a clog up there because there's not nearly enough water coming off this roof line right there to really cause that overflow if it was not clogged up. All we're going to do is go and clog up. We'll put on the leaf protection. You'll be perfectly fine. You don't need to get new gutters there. Maybe somebody else comes out and goes, yeah, you definitely need new gutters there. Instead of going, well, I don't think we need new. Yeah, you do. Hey, we need new gutters up there. No, you don't. You don't. Here's what we're going to do. And I love that. And there was no pressure. It was, hey, you guys decide, let me know, and we'll work from there. So get your free estimate today. Call the Gutter Guy, 913-707-4554, 913-707-4554, or go to heygutterguy.com today.
Jayhawk fans, season tickets for the 2022 Kansas football season are on sale for as low as $180.
Sports Radio 810 WHB, Wednesday edition of the show. Jason Anderson, Josh Briscoe, and the Drake. I agree with that man. I don't care who was talking or what they were going to get into unless he ended it with, psych! Not! Unless he went 90s, like, not. I agree with that particular person on one, Patrick LeVon Mahomes II. Coming up at 11 o'clock, we're going to talk with Kendall Gammon, and we'll talk some Lynn Dawson with him, maybe some Chiefs as well. And then Jeff Montgomery will be our guest coming up at noon from Bally Sports, presented by SandlotGoods.com. A few texts coming in. 913-912-4810. Lynn Dawson was the leader of the Chiefs, voice of KC Sports, voice of the NFL on HBO, and voice of the Chiefs on radio. He was a Mahomes-level celebrity in KC for 50 years.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely, man.
He was the face or voice of the Chiefs for 50 years.
Yeah. Yep. Tex says Lenny would have been a national sports icon if football was a more popular sport back when he played.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I mean, it was all about baseball at that time, and it was the merger. It was the NFL, and the AFL was second-class citizens. And also, I mean, look, he still holds – he led the league in completion percentage 8 times,
Incredible.
which is still an NFL record. He did it 6 straight years, which is still an NFL record. He led the league in passing yards 4 times, which is only surpassed by Sammy Baugh and Steve Young. And he led the league in touchdown passes 4 times, which is only surpassed by Brady, who's done it 5 times. I mean, he wasn't
in the
just
60s.
Yeah, he wasn't just well, boy, he's a really good game manager, and he's cool and calls his own plays and puts his team in the right position all the time. I mean, he was Tua before Tua, just incredibly accurate. 8 times he led the league in completion percentage, did Lynn Dawson. He was the player of the year in the AFL in 62, MVP in Super Bowl 4, Hall of Fame in 87. I mean, just the accolades that were there for him playing, and then as, you know, we've talked about things after playing and what he's done in broadcasting as well.
He's a Hall of Famer twice. He is a Hall of Fame player and broadcaster.
Mm-hmm.
I should know this probably. I don't know if he's the only one. I imagine there probably are multiple people who have multiple sort of inductions that way. But man, that's not a very long list for the absolute best of the best. It's just, I don't know, man. I kind of, there's obviously a bittersweet nature to all of this.
Yeah.
But I really like taking the time at a moment like this to just sort of be in awe about something maybe we didn't think about for the last few years when he wasn't in the public eye as much or whatever. A truly incredible story, and then I don't know if there are some great stories out there. I was reading something that Vahe Gregorian of the Star wrote around the retirement. That was you might have read it in 2017 or whatever it was. I was going through that whenever he went into hospice.
I read Randy Kovitz's story this morning. The Kansas City Star was awesome.
I need to read that.
It's a longer read.
Yeah, I'm not gonna get into the break. Probably
it covers a lot of ground. If you want to know everything about Lynn Dawson, Randy Kovitz, I believe, covers it all.
And I'm excited to check out Rustin's in the Athletic and all that as well. But going back through the one that Vahe wrote around 2017 or so, the way that Lynn Dawson believed that he was living this blessed life as the 7th son of a 7th son, you know, like all of those little tidbits that, especially if you're my age or younger, I hope everybody's got some sort of touchstone because we are going to have to now starting today, honestly, and maybe back you could say starting 2017 to some extent when he retired from radio. But really, starting today, it is about people who remember Lynn Dawson telling the stories that we're telling now to keep his memory alive. Not that there's any doubt whatsoever that it will be a memory in a lifetime that will reverberate for many more lifetimes beyond him. But it's a good story for us to be in a pretty cool position to tell. I don't take that for granted on days like today.
A couple of texts, and then I want to hear the tribute that KMBC put out today. Text comes in at 913-912-4810. Lenny's teammates started calling him the governor. I never knew that, but that would make sense.
No, I didn't either.
And then another text comes in and says, "We'll never be Lenny cool, smoking a cigarette on the bench during a game."
It's incredible.
I mean, that picture is why I thought he was just known as Lenny the Cool because of him, not necessarily he got the nickname because of his demeanor, composure, and guile on the field playing in the games. But it was just like, This dude's just smoking a cigarette, drinking a Fresca at halftime of the Super Bowl, and getting ready to be named MVP. Like, that's just amazing.
And those pictures, that picture in particular, was never supposed to come out. That was found years later, vaulted. Here, Kevin Clark tweeted about this earlier today. The photographer of Lynn Dawson smoking picture told me in 2019 it wasn't actually supposed to run. The deal with Hank Stram was to run the all-access photos if they won the Super Bowl. It was only rediscovered in a Time slideshow. That was from Super Bowl I.
Wow,
I don't even know that. Did you know that?
I thought it was Super Bowl IV.
I never knew.
This whole time.
And Kevin also said, while reporting it, I learned Lynn didn't love the photo because he didn't want to glorify smoking for young people. And from what I understand, he didn't even do it that much, but he understood its place in history over the last few years.
Wow. I mean, it's because it's an iconic photo.
This is one place where we can all say, hey, listen, everybody, don't smoke. Smoking is bad for you. We have lots of evidence that smoking is bad for you. But also, at least in this one particular instance of halftime of a Super Bowl, the first Super Bowl, it's pretty cool.
It's just,
don't smoke.
Just hang out,
But if you're gonna, you have to be maybe the coolest person walking on the earth at that moment.
And you have to have a Fresca.
Have to. Glass bottle,
Fresca, and just you've just got to be that. You can only you've got so many guys at halftime or teams now. You're in your different rooms and you're going over with this dude's just chilling on a folding chair with a cigarette and a Fresca, waiting to get back out there in the second half. So
I know this is a dirty word right now, but the Joe Burrow post-game cigar sort of thing, that is all. I don't know if he's ever connected those dots before. If anyone's ever asked him about that, I would love to. Actually, I need to keep that in mind for whenever they play in the AFC Championship game again this year, I guess.
Don't care to hear from him.
I understand that, but that sort of. I don't know, man. That sort of. I mean, they call him Joe Cool now, right? Also, is Joe Burrow get a little bit of. Listen, we've already got a Cool Joe. You can ask Rudy Salazar about Cool Joe. That's a real deep cut for AES diehards. But the reverberations of that and what it is to be the coolest quarterback at the top of the world is just like that. And that's a version of Lynn Dawson that I never would have known if that picture didn't exist. And so he would have just been, and I say just a little tongue in cheek, but he would have just been. The reverberations of who he was as a football player, and just, again, in air quotes, just a Hall of Fame broadcaster, voice of the Chiefs. But those clips, those photos from that time are just teleporting.
Oddly enough, my appreciation of that Joe Burrow photo dwindled over time.
Yeah, I understand. I get it.
At the time, I'm like, man, that's a really cool. That's a stupid picture. You know what? Just. Act like you've been there for.
Yeah, no, that I get it. I understand. I know, as I said, I know that Joe Burrow is not who we all want to be thinking about today.
But you know what? Well, you mentioned the smoking thing. He didn't want to glorify that. He was also a guy who was, the national spokesperson for, prostate cancer, getting early screening, because he survived because of early screening.
Yep.
On the really, his wife sort of saying, you need to go and do this, like it's in your family, and he didn't want to do it. So I was like, all right, I'll get screened. Oh, by the way, you've got early stages of prostate cancer. Beat it. And had he waited, had he just been somebody that was like, I'm fine, I don't have any symptoms, it's not a big deal, we may be having these Lynn Dawson conversations before sports radio even came around.
Right. I was going to try to find the specific date of that, because that was a lot of life ago. And for an entire
91, I believe, is when he was diagnosed with the early stage prostate cancer.
30 years.
Yeah.
30 years later, here we are.
Because of early test, which he has been a spokesperson for early testing. Once you hit 40, go get it done. I'm 42, and I have not taken heed to that.
There's your PSA for the day.
Absolutely.
Legitimately, this is going to sound kind of hokey, but Lynn Dawson wanted y'all to go get your prostates checked.
Go get your prostate
checked.
checked.
So do it. There you go. What better reminder are you going to get to say, hey, you know what?
Let me go get prostate
Lynn Dawson would be
out.
disappointed in me if I didn't do this.
That's right.
I would walk in the traffic if I thought that was true. I'd be like, Lynn Dawson would be disappointed if I didn't walk in the traffic right now. I guess I should do it.
I'm going to play a real-life game of Frogger on 435. Let me see what happens.
Just to get up what he would want.
Let's hear, before we go to break, KMBC put out a tribute this morning. It's pretty good. So let's just listen in as to what they put together for the life of Lynn Dawson.
I am the seventh son of a seventh son. In all my life, they've said, hey, that's great. That's good luck.
That was Len Dawson in 1987 on the day he entered the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
People of Kansas City, for those of you who don't know those folks, is some kind of town.
And Kansas City loved him back. Born and raised in Alliance, Ohio, Purdue University was next.
I went to Purdue University for two reasons. One, it's a great university, and secondly, their offense threw the football.
His coach at Purdue, the legendary Hank Stram, who would later become instrumental in his success as a pro. But his NFL career began with some rather unremarkable seasons in Pittsburgh and Cleveland.
My skills had eroded because I hadn't been used.
He believed in you.
Yeah, he did. I think he did. Maybe not the first couple of weeks.
And then along came the American Football League. The Dallas Texans would then move to Kansas City, and Hank Stram was their head coach.
The all-time leader in touchdown passes for the AFL is Kansas City's Len Dawson.
His football career in Dallas, and especially in Kansas City, took off. His pinpoint passes and quiet sense of command earned him the nickname Lenny the Cool. His success and the team's success led to a matchup in the first Super Bowl against head coach Vince Lombardi and the heavily favored Green Bay Packers.
Rolls out to the right, he's got a man clear, touchdown!
Dawson played well, but the Packers were too much for the Chiefs in a 35-10 loss. Here was Lombardi after the game.
I think the Kansas City team is a real top football team. It doesn't compare with the National Football League teams.
Ticked me off, ticked all of us off.
So we wanted another opportunity, unfortunately, in Super Bowl IV against the Minnesota Vikings.
But on January 11th, 1970, the Chiefs were back.
For Sunday, 1970, the beginning of a new decade in sports.
Playing another heavily favored team from the NFL, the Minnesota Vikings.
Can't cover that thing, Lenny. Throw it anytime.
And once again, Dawson played well, completing 6 of his first 7 passes in the game.
Pump it in there, baby. Just keep matriculating the ball down the field, boys.
A steady Chiefs offense and a stingy Chiefs defense put Kansas City ahead at halftime. But the Chiefs blew the game wide open in the third quarter when Dawson hit Otis Taylor on this 46-yard TD pass.
Nice going, Leonard. Nice going, baby. Nice going, baby.
It was overwhelming. It's just, you know how that relief comes when, you know, it's over with and you've been successful. That's the feeling that I had when I came off the field. Got back to Kansas City for the parade. Now that's another story.
He thought the Chiefs would return to the Super Bowl, but it never happened. At age 41 in 1976, Dawson retired from playing.
High school football kicks off this weekend, and so does the University of Kansas Health System High School Football Game of the Week. Don't miss a battle of number 1 versus number 2 in the 8-10 varsity rankings when top-ranked Liberty North hosts Lee Summit North. It's the Eagles versus Broncos Friday night at 7 on Sports Radio 810. Following the game, stay tuned for the post-game show, and don't forget scores, rankings, and more at 810varsity.com. All from Kansas City's home for high school sports. Sports Radio 810 WHB.
1, 2, 3, 810! All right, a week from tomorrow. 1 week from tomorrow. No, that's not just the day Missouri starts their football season. It's also the day that you are going to be able to place your wagers, whether it's line, money line, spreads, props, whatever it is, because DraftKings Sportsbook is coming to the Sunflower State, and it will be here September 1st. It's not long till you can sit back and bet on all your favorite sports from the comfort of your own home. And to celebrate, all new customers will receive $100 in free bets when you sign up using code 810WHB, 810WHB. Plus, one lucky customer will win a $100,000 free bet. That's right, DraftKings Sportsbook is going to give you $100 in free bets just for signing up today. No deposit required. And again, week from tomorrow, you'll be betting on those money lines and spreads and props and more with one of America's top-rated sportsbook apps, DraftKings Sportsbook. Plus, you'll be entered to win a $100,000 free bet when you sign up. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and sign up with code 810WHB to get $100 in free bets to use once mobile sports betting hits Kansas. Plus, one customer will win a $100,000 free bet. That's code 810WHB only at DraftKings Sportsbook.
Gambling problem? Getting help is your best bet. Call 800-522-4700. 21 plus, physically present in Kansas. Eligibility restrictions apply. See terms at DraftKings.com/sportsbook. Subject to regulatory licensing requirements. One per customer. $100 issued as 4 $25 free bets. No purchase necessary for sweepstakes. Void where prohibited. And first day DraftKings is allowed to operate in Kansas. See terms at dkng.co/ks.
Ready to change your life? Get a smile you'll love to the moon and back. Expert orthodontist Dr. Moon and his friendly team use the latest technology to make your journey fast, precise, and affordable. They invite patients of all ages to experience warm, orthodontic care in a family-friendly atmosphere, serving all ages in Olathe and Overland Park while offering the latest technology in orthodontic care. It's Moon Orthodontics. Revolutionize your smile with a free consultation. Visit moonortho.com.
Do you want to be the king of the cul-de-sac? American Fire Barbecue has you covered with smokers, grills, premium meats, rubs, sauces, brines, injections, and fuel. We have it all. We treat our customers like family and will help you with any questions you may have to make your cooking experience easy and fun. See for yourself by checking out our store located in Lee Summit, Missouri, or check out our website, AmericanFireBBQ.com. It's American Fire Barbecue and Grilling Supply, Lee Summit's home for all things barbecue.
Your Kansas City Symphony presents Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince in concert. The complete film with your KC Symphony performing the entire soundtrack live. September 7th through 11th at the Kaufman Center. Find your Harry Potter concert tickets now at kcsymphony.org.
Hey, this is SSJ, and I want you to join my team for the Alzheimer's Association Walk to End Alzheimer's in Kansas City on October 2nd. Simply go to alzwalkkc.org and search for my team, SSJ's Walkers and Talkers. Registration is free. Go to alzwalkkc.org and join my team. And if you register, you can win 2 tickets to a Chiefs game and $100 to Joe's KC. So register today.
They say consistency is the key to success. They weren't wrong. So how about grabbing a beer that's consistently smooth, consistently refreshing, and consistently light? You might just find that the road to success can be pretty enjoyable. Michelob Ultra, the perfect balance of taste and refreshment, and only 2.6 carbs and 95 calories. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
ICON is seeking healthy, non-smoking men and women ages 18 to 55 to participate in a clinical research study at our facility in Lenexa, Kansas. Women must be of non-childbearing potential. Volunteers must be available for 1 stay of 5 nights and 1 follow-up visit. Qualified participants may receive compensation up to $4,500 for study-related time and procedures. Call ICON today at 913-210-5900. That's 913-210-5900.
Beat the heat with the famous key lime pie concrete from Andy's Frozen Custard. And now there's a new Andy's at the Blue Hawk Shopping Center on 159th Street in Overland Park. Be sure to visit Blue Hawk's grand opening celebration Thursday, August 25th from 3 until 6 p.m. I'll be there with Andy. Andy's Frozen Custard, the world.
4810 about somebody working with Len Dawson at KMBC 9 back in early 2000 said that was supposed to go and cover a Blades game, but something got messed up in communication and he didn't have a press pass. Len Dawson heard the conversation, and so Len gave him his press pass and said, "Here, you can take mine and you can keep that." He says, "To this day, my Len Dawson Blades press is one of my most prized possessions."
Also, one of the most absolutely ridiculous, obscure pieces of sports memorabilia I've ever heard of.
Totally.
And I mean every breath of that is a compliment. That is so cool.
Blades press pass, Len Dawson, KMBC 9. How did you end up with that? Long story, actually. Long story.
It all started with me forgetting my own press pass.
Yes, or it wasn't a forgetting. It was just hey, I'm going out there. Oh, whoops, we didn't do that. Well, how are we going to get I'm supposed to cover this. What do I do? Take mine. Here you go. Hey, you know what? You can keep that. I will. Yes, I will. Text says, Jason, the PSA test, prostate-specific antigen, is just a blood test. It's an easy first step. Do it.
Oh.
I did not know that.
I didn't know that either.
I thought it was more intrusive.
I don't know
The first step for the prostate.
Yeah, my first couple stabs at it were the old way, and now they've said, no, we don't do that anymore. It's just we just check your blood when we check it, like with it for all the other stuff, which was a lot more pleasant. But also the peace of mind is pretty pleasant too.
Yeah,
I would say that was the case. I am. I'll be honest. I am probably much more likely to go ahead and call and get an appointment scheduled now, knowing that it is just simply drawing some blood instead of Moon River.
And you know what you'd rather have than cancer? A sort of awkward doctor's experience.
That's exactly right.
So that's all right.
That is exactly right. 913.
Ask for both.
913-912-4810.
I don't think you do that. Don't do that.
Is the text line. We're going to talk with Kendall Gammon coming up in the next segment. Get his thoughts. He worked over a decade.
Yeah,
with Lynn Dawson, so he's got some stories and some memories of being around him, and may get his thoughts on the Chiefs as well. It's preseason game number 3 coming up tomorrow night, and I don't expect many of the starters to play because they just played Saturday. It's a short week. Shorter weeks are when typically you are more at risk of being injured. So let the starters sit, which, by the way, why are you having your third preseason game 5 days after your second preseason game? When you're going to have preseason games on Saturday and Sunday, just have them all Saturday. I get that they're wanting to spread it out because they want to control Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But, you're pretty much making it more likely than not that the starters are not going to be playing in that game against the Packers tomorrow. And we know that Aaron Rodgers will not be playing in that game as well, which is unfortunate for Sammy Watkins because,
I'm going to do something. Whenever we fully make that whole segment happen, I'm going to do something bonkers. I'm going to defend Tyreek Hill and Sammy Watkins. I've already decided.
Good for you.
I'm going to do it.
Good for you.
I'm going to be unpopular opinion guy on that one today.
Some people always people need to be wrong. There need to be some people that are wrong in life so
Today
that
I'm
we
going
know.
to do that.
You know what? You can't appreciate the good times if you don't go through the bad times.
Sure. I will bring you some bad times.
And you can't appreciate those that are right if you don't have people that are just simply wrong.
That's what I'm here for.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So we'll talk with Kendall Gammon coming up at 11 o'clock. Noon, we'll hang out with Jeff Montgomery, Bally Sports, and Royals Insider, Royals Hall of Famer, presented by Sandlot Goods. I don't know if he's ever had an experience like Jonathan Heasley last night.
Starters were hurling yesterday.
Was it Heasley last night?
I'm glad we at least went for different puns. Plays on words, I guess. I don't know. Trucking it up there. Did you see how the Diamondbacks wrapped up that game? The tweet. I'll find it.
No,
it's good stuff.
I feel like Ryan missed an opportunity last night with something that Rex left on a tee. First of all, Ryan, you could tell in the background, was laughing and didn't want to talk, and was just every once in a while you hear a small little snicker. Like it must have been like 3 minutes that he was laughing, and a couple of pitches go by, and then Rex says something, and then he goes, "You good, Ryan?" "Yep, ready to go." So you knew in the back. But Heasley comes out for the next inning, and Rex says something like, "Well, you know what? I'm glad he didn't have a full stomach." And Ryan didn't say anything, and I feel like it was right there for him to say, "Well, he doesn't now." Even if he might have, he does not now.
The Diamondbacks with their final score graphic, 7-3 final.
Uh-huh.
The D-backs threw up 7 runs in a sick win. Thanks, Diamondbacks Twitter.
Okay. You know what? Good for them. Good for them. Bad. I'm glad that Heasley said it wasn't a big deal.
Yes.
I'm not sick. It's happened before. The adrenaline gets pumping. I can't control it. And then, that happens.
I'm spoiling the audio, but he said that he barfed before every high school football game.
He was Willie Beeman.
So I guess.
Before Willie Beeman.
He's been there. That's all right.
All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll talk with Kendall Gammon, some Lynn Dawson, some Chiefs, maybe some Division II football as well. That's next. We'll talk some Royals baseball with him, and we'll talk some more Chiefs football. They get ready for preseason game number 3 tomorrow night. But we spent the first hour reminiscing and being nostalgic about the life of Len Dawson with the passing of Len Dawson this morning. Joining us now is someone who's worked closely with Len for a while. Kendall Gammon is our guest here in the zone, and his appearance is sponsored by Freeman Health Systems. At Freeman Health Systems, we are centered around you. Freeman Health Systems, your local hospital joining your circle of trust, and by Crown Automotive in Lawrence, your new and certified pre-owned Toyota and Volkswagen dealership near Kansas City, Olathe, and Topeka. Come experience the Crown difference at crownautomotive.com. Kendall, welcome into the show, man. I appreciate it, and I am looking forward to getting our weekly chats rolling throughout the football season.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to have a great time. Obviously, we wish we weren't talking right now for the reason we're talking, but we did know it was coming after a couple of weeks' notice here back. And so, yeah, it's kind of a day that a lot of people will remember.
So what do you remember? You worked closely with them for, over a decade. So what do you think of when you think of Len Dawson and you look back over the life and maybe your interactions with him?
You know what? The first thing, Jason, that comes to mind for me is just class. This guy was a true gentleman, top to bottom, left to right. And it will never be lost on me how he treated me, which was very kind. He was good to me as a player when I was with the Chiefs, and he was, of course, covering them then. He would say hello. I honestly couldn't believe that he knew who I was. I think he was interested in the fact that I threw the ball also, albeit between my legs. And I think the other thing was he had been at Pittsburgh. He knew I came from Pittsburgh.
Oh, yeah.
So I think he saw a kindred spirit there as well. So we talked some on the plane, but working with him was just the best. I mean, you guys know, this is a guy, maybe you don't know. I'm not sure how much things cross, but, for me, he was the NFL on Inside the NFL. That's where you went for this iconic voice and this analysis of everything going on in the NFL. And, I think it's only 3 people maybe that are in the Hall of Fame as a player and a broadcaster. And, of course, he's one of those. So he was a special person for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. It's one of the first things I talked about this morning as well, is that, back in the day, we didn't have SportsCenter. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have Twitter and everything to immediately get the reaction, the takeaway, the analysis of what's going on in these games. And so sometimes you got it very George Michael's Sports Machine, things like that.
Yeah,
and inside the NFL with Len Dawson. And I talked about how cool it was to be someone from Kansas City, living in Kansas City, and the few chances you get to learn about the NFL or talk about the NFL, in that Len Dawson, a Kansas Citian, was, the face, the voice, one of the few guys there on stage that was talking about it. I just thought that was the coolest thing because, my generation of folks don't remember Len Dawson as a player. I remember Len Dawson as a broadcaster, knowing that he was former player. And Inside the NFL was probably my first experience, and obviously on KMBC, of seeing and listening to Len Dawson, and then obviously with the Chiefs radio network as well. So I knew him so much as a broadcaster and not necessarily as a football player.
Yeah, you're right on in terms of, how information, Jason, is immediate these days. But back then it was once a week, and NFL Films did such a good job, and that was on Inside the NFL. I mean, right now, somebody's probably tweeted already that, either mocking me or saying something about me on Twitter. I'm kind of joking around, but that's how immediate things are.
Yeah.
It's not hard to find with me. But so it is a different age, but I was amazed also, of course, because I did the pregame with them.
Mm-hmm.
And so we would have guys come on. I remember, you asked somebody to come on pregame. Once they knew that Len was going to be on with us, they're like, oh, absolutely. It was just, it was a foregone conclusion that if Len was asking or if he was going to be on that, they wanted to be on. Chris Collinsworth was somebody who, when we were doing those national games, he normally didn't go on a lot of the local stuff, but he never missed anything with Len if Len asked. And that was just the respect that was paid to Len throughout the league.
You worked closely with him. I did not get to spend a lot of time with him. I did, Sports Centers in the morning for the Border Patrol, and he would come on once a week for an hour. That was my interaction with him. He didn't know me from Adam, and so I would just see him walking around the halls and sort of, just be in awe of his presence. And I put this out on Twitter this morning, Kendall, and I talked about it as well, in that I didn't realize until, in the last couple, 3-4 years probably, maybe it was before that, I don't know, but I didn't realize that his nickname, Lenny the Cool, was from playing football, was from what he did on the field and how composed and cool and his, way of going about and navigating a football game. Every time I've been around him, he just sort of had kind of that he's cool, kind of that cool presence, just a slow stride. I called it like a subtle, non-arrogant, natural, strut that was there that just sort of came with that. I thought he was Lenny the Cool just because people were like, man, that guy's cool. That's a cool guy. And it wasn't until I'm like, oh, he got the nickname because of football? Oh, that makes sense. But damn, he was cool too off the field.
Yeah, he really was. I always would tell the story when people would ask about that I was like, I would describe it as this. I would imagine if Len were at my house and the house caught on fire, Len would probably be like, well, Kendall, your house is on fire. I think we should get down to the floor and maybe crawl out. There's no oxygen down there. And that way we will get out before we burn up. This is just the guy that I think would just exude calmness and lead you out and do everything. And he was. It came from football. But what you say is true also, Jason, because he was humble, yet he had this aura about him and how he held himself. And I don't know what the nonverbal cues were that he had or the facial expressions, but how he held himself was just always amazing to me. And this was a guy who just could communicate in a way that everybody could understand, they could enjoy. He had a very nice tone of voice, which obviously went with his broadcasting. And it was just a good person.
And it's interesting the way that the NFL has developed in that, one of the compliments that has been given to Lynn Dawson as a player was, boy, he knew how to call a football game. And it was like, oh yeah, he called his own plays. Yeah, like he knew like when to pass, all of those things. And it's like now, yeah, you can audible at the line of scrimmage. There's RPOs that go on now where you can read and react and either hand off or throw the ball. But to be a guy in the huddle that's like, all right, let's run this. Okay, we're going to run that. All right, we're going to run this. You know what? Let's switch this up over here. Otis, why don't you go over here with this defense? Like, it's amazing the evolution of football in today's day and age. And like a compliment for him is like, well, he just understood the game and when to pass it, when to throw it. And Hank Stram, one of the clips of him in Super Bowl IV, I believe it was like, well, Lenny, just throw the ball. Just throw the ball. Then throw it then. If you're going to throw it, just throw the ball. You got it. We believe in you.
Yeah, he was amazing. He would talk to me on air sometimes off air, just about how he would go up and down the bench to the players, either the receivers or the running backs, to get their idea of what they were seeing out there, and then would ask him, what do you think would work? And when it came down to it, he was the one making decisions, but he was making the decisions with the information he got from the players. And I just always found that so fascinating because this is quite a while back, and really, especially for back then, to give the autonomy to the quarterback at times, like the Chiefs did, is something that is just doesn't happen that much.
Yeah, Kendall Gaiman is our guest as we talk about the life of Lynn Dawson. One of the compliments that I gave him, and really in broadcasting, one of the takeaways that I had in listening to Lynn Dawson, and that KMBC inside the NFL, but also the Chiefs radio network. And what I appreciated about Lynn is that when the Chiefs were struggling or they weren't doing well, he was critical when warranted. Now, nobody would question if Lynn Dawson is going to be negative about the Chiefs, right? Nobody's going to question him. He can say whatever he wants with autonomy. But it was, Chiefs fans, Kansas City sports fans are smart. They know the deal. And, you don't have to lie to them. You can be honest. You don't have to be personal, right? You can be honest in a critique of what they were professionally. And I appreciated that about Lynn Dawson, that it wasn't just an overall, like, here's a homer broadcast and everything is great and the team won 2 games, but, man, those 2 games were really spectacular. And they lost 14, but they were really close 14. No, he would call it like he saw it, and I always appreciated that because when he complimented them, well, you knew it was real. You knew it was legit because he was willing to be critical when warranted, even on the official, radio broadcast.
Yeah, that's something, Jason, you bring up a great point. Something I think I learned from him is you can criticize people in a positive manner. You can criticize the action and what they did, but it's not personal, and you don't want to make it personal. I think sometimes we're guilty of doing that too much in our everyday lives or on our broadcast lives, even if we don't mean to. So I think it made me more cognizant of the fact that you're going to get more credibility if you tell the story good and bad. If it's always good each and every time, then people are like, okay, well, let's see what little phrase he's going to use today to mask the errors or mask what's going on with them that's not good. And I think that's something people appreciate, because really, all you really want to know, you want to know the truth of what's going on, and you don't want a personal opinion of a guy and what you think of him.
Kendall, you mentioned, that you felt almost a little surprised that, like, he knew who you were, and that's something that I feel like people have been telling stories about all day in interactions with Lenny that made them feel like they were the person in a special interaction there. My kind of theory is that that Lynn Dawson understood what it meant for someone else to meet Lynn Dawson, and so that was my experience. That sounds like experiences a lot of us have had. Was there a story that comes to mind for you of him being kind of, I don't know, uncommonly gracious in a moment like that, or something that you'll look back on and say, oh, this story, this moment here really kind of sums up who he was?
Okay, so this is a first-hand story of me talking with Dan Israel, who is the executive producer for the Chiefs Radio Network and just a great friend. So when on the 100, I forget which Super Bowl it was, but they had everybody back, and they had Len back, and Dan Israel traveled with him. And Dan was just amazed because he goes, you have all these Super Bowl MVPs there, and there's a line of all the people there that literally other MVPs to get their picture with Len. So that shows you some of it. But there was radio voices, there was music voices, all these stars. And one guy came up to Len and he said, "Mr. Dawson, a big fan of yours. Could I get a picture with you?" And he said, "Yes, that would be fine. What do you do?" And he goes, I'm in a band. He goes, "Oh, really? What type of music?" He goes, "Well, I play rock." He goes, "Yeah, not really my thing, but very nice." And so he said, again, my name's Len. What's your name? He goes, "John Bon Jovi." You had to wait for it. You're like, no way that, as Dan said, no way that just happened. John Bon Jovi was sitting there in awe of Len Dawson, and Len Dawson has no idea who he is, and also told it like it was. He goes, "Oh, good for you. That's not the music I listen to, but that's fine." And he took a picture with him and everything. And things like that went on the entire time, and Dan told me so much about it. But that was Len. I mean, there's icons, and then there's icons who are icons to the icons, and that's what Len Dawson was.
Wow, that is an amazing story. That I'm John.
It is. I so wish I could be there, but I mean, Dan tells me, and he just can't help but laugh. I chuckle now when I'm talking about it.
I mean, I have never heard that story before, so as you were talking, I thought it was going to just be like, I'm Jeff.
I couldn't wait, man. I was so excited to hear the name. You told it well, too, Kendall. You did the story justice, because I was on the edge of my seat.
Thank you very much.
I did not know that was going to be. That was M. Night Shyamalan right there. That went a different route than I thought it was going to go. That was amazing. One quick one, and I don't know how much of the story is sort of like legend or whatever, but I do know that hearing from multiple people about this and just sort of his demeanor in general, in that the Chiefs charter flight was going to take off, and Lynn, for whatever reason, was late. Whatever story it might be, there's about 50 different stories out there of what it might be. But either way, he was running late. They couldn't leave without Lynn Dawson. They were waiting on the tarmac and waiting on the tarmac and waiting on the tarmac. They wanted to leave. Nobody could get a hold of Lynn Dawson. Finally, it's like a half hour late. Finally, he shows up, gets on the plane, turns to go down the aisle and goes, "Gentlemen," and just walks back to his seat. That's it. "Gentlemen." That's it. It's like he knows they were waiting on. You know you were 30 minutes late, but just no. "Gentlemen, let's go. Ready to go." So it's it's always it was an amazing life lived. 87 years, an amazing life lived, and in sports, I'm a fan of things that happen, and maybe it's serendipitous and things sort of falling into place. But I've talked about a number of different things in just sports in general. Like if the Bears weren't dumb and if they took Patrick Mahomes, and you don't want to think about that, right? It's just thank goodness that they didn't do that. But what if the Chiefs don't hire Hank Stram? I mean, does Lynn Dawson ever get a chance to play football? Since, in Pittsburgh, they said this guy can't play quarterback. We drafted him, we won the coin flip, and we got Lynn Dawson. He can't play quarterback. But if it wasn't for his time with Hank Stram at Purdue, does he ever get a chance to be Lynn Dawson? Or is he just a guy that tells a story, in Pittsburgh about the time he played a few years in the NFL, but, didn't get a chance. But, boy, that was cool. You played in the NFL? Oh, that's really neat. And instead, Hall of Famer, MVP, holds records for years with completion percentage and leading the league in touchdowns 4 different times. And if they make a different decision at coach for the Chiefs, a completely different life for Lynn Dawson, maybe.
Well, you know what? And it's not lost on him. He's talked to me about that multiple times throughout my years with him. So, again, you bring up a very good point, which he was very aware of it. And he was very aware of the fact of being in the right place in the right time and understanding that the opportunity of what the Kansas City Chiefs and Hank Stram gave him. And I think that wasn't the main reason he stayed in KC. I mean, I think he just loved it, and it was his type of place. But he was very aware that while he had a lot of skills, he was also in the right place at the right time with the right people.
A part of his story that I didn't fully comprehend until a couple of weeks ago when I was reading about it again was the scene that I'm imagining of him finishing practice, taking off his shoulder pads, grabbing a microphone, and then interviewing a teammate before TV. Do you have anything from that stories from him from that time in his life? Because that to me seems like about the craziest thing that he ever did, and I'm sure there are a lot of good accomplishments on that list. But that seems impossible to me.
It really does, and it's hard to fathom. Can you imagine? I mean, Patrick Holt from the home said, "Hey, just a second, guys. I'd hang with you in the locker room, but I got to go get the mic and the camera and get this interview knocked out." Yeah, it's hard to believe, and he's talked about that just in terms of, back then it was just a different day and age, and that you had to have another job, and kudos to him for doing that, and really people recognizing how good he was at it. And I'm sure he honed his skills early on, but let's be honest, guys. In my opinion, this is somebody who just had an innate ability to communicate with people in a way that made them feel comfortable, and he could articulate it very, very well, and that's why he had this broadcasting career after a Hall of Fame football career. And think about it also in terms of his football career and his broadcasting, be it inside the NFL and Chiefs Radio Network. I mean, for the better part of 60 years, he was at an NFL game each and every Sunday. To me, that's just mind-boggling.
Wow. That's a great point. I mean, it's an amazing point of just his life in the NFL. Somebody also tweeted in earlier, Kendall, like, I didn't go back and look, but I need to. How many Hall of Fames he's probably in? The Chiefs, the NFL, Purdue, Missouri, broadcasting.
The NFL again?
The NFL again, right.
Yeah.
I mean, just how many different Hall of Fames that guy is a member of. You probably lose track if you're Lynn Dawson. Although, knowing Lynn Dawson, he probably does not lose track.
He probably does not. I will say I was fortunate enough to drive him down to the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame induction in Branson, Missouri, and myself and Dan Israel. And that was just an honor to be in, take him down there, be a part of that, and just kind of, have the front row seat and see everything that's going on. And again, seeing all these people just, lined up and just wanting to talk to him, be able to say they talked to Len Dawson, get his autograph. And I can honestly say, in all my years of being around him, I never once saw him turn down an autograph or be rude to anyone, literally. And if you can say that in your life, you're a pretty special person.
Absolutely. Kendall Gammon is our guest. Kendall, I appreciate the time, sir. We will talk some football starting next week with the college football season getting underway. A week from tomorrow, Pitt State in action in MIAA football, and then NCAA Division I football starting this weekend, and, of course, the Chiefs on September 11th. So thank you so much for taking some time out today to reminisce about Len Dawson and giving us your thoughts and experiences around Lenny the Cool. I appreciate it, man.
I appreciate you getting a hold of me, and I'm looking forward to this season. Take care, guys.
Absolutely, you too. There's Kendall Gammon. Great stuff from him. Again, he's presented by his appearance is presented by Freeman Health Systems. At Freeman Health Systems, they're centered around you. Freeman Health Systems, your local hospital, joining your circle of trust, and also Crown Automotive in Lawrence, your new and certified pre-owned Toyota and Volkswagen dealership near Kansas City, Olathe, and Topeka. Experience the Crown difference at crownautomotive.com. That John Bon Jovi story is one of the best stories I have ever heard. That's amazing. You thought that it was heading that direction?
So well told. Oh, I knew that name was going to be a banger.
I had no clue it was heading that direction. I thought it was just, here's Len Dawson being gracious to this person that was like, hey, I'm a big fan, and yeah, I play in a band, and that's cool, and everything. Oh, not really my thing. I did not see that coming. I probably should have.
Kendall was leaving out too many details.
Dude,
he could have just. It was perfectly told, a perfect story. Not really my thing. That rock and roll music, Mr. John, is it?
What's your name?
Pretty cool, dude.
John Bon Jovi. That's unbelievable. Just an awesome human being, an amazing life, and as he said, class is what most people remember Lenny the Cool for. We'll take a time out. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling. We'll get into some football, and we'll talk about the Chiefs preseason game number 3 coming up tomorrow night. We'll talk some Royals with Jeff Montgomery coming up at noon. Valley Sports, Royals Hall of Famer, Royals Insider, presented by SandlotGoods.com. More Zone next.
Hey, this is SSJ, and I want you to join my team for the Alzheimer's Association Walk to End Alzheimer's in Kansas City on October 2nd. Simply go to ALZ.
By the tone of the story, I would imagine that Bon Jovi's probably got it somewhere.
I would hope, because at the time, like, when, maybe ever, since he's been John Bon Jovi, right? Not John Bon Jovi, whatever his real name is, Drake. Since he's been John Bon Jovi, rock star, has he ever in his life, outside of maybe that interaction with Lynn Dawson, that he went up to somebody who he was starstruck by and asked for a picture, and that person in return had no clue who he was? That he was just a regular fanboy getting somebody else's picture with them so he can talk about and tell stories about when he met Lynn Dawson, and it wasn't that guy was also returning the favor of, oh, I'm a big fan, it's so cool, oh, you're a fan of mine, that's great. Just, oh, hope it's going well for you in that rock and roll music.
If that has happened, if that's happened to Jonathan more than once, it couldn't have been a lot more than once.
I mean, it's
pretty small sample size, as we would say.
That's unbelievable. 913-912-4810 is the text line to be a part of the show, part of the conversation. 913-912-4810. How about this? This text comes in. I want to. We'll do some Chiefs football here in a second, but I wanted to read this text. Text says, my 11-year-old son's name is Dawson because he was born at 2/16 on a Red Friday. In 2015, a friend of mine knew Lynn Dawson's agent, and I was able to take my son to meet the legend he was named after. The photo he signed says, from one Dawson to another.
Pretty cool, man.
That's amazing.
Pretty cool. Goodness.
That is amazing. Maybe the kid won't appreciate that because he's 11 now, right? So it's like, oh yeah, Lynn Dawson, that's pretty cool. But the dad will always have that moment and that signed picture. So that's awesome. 913-912-4810 is the text line to be a part of the show, part of the conversation. 913-912-4810.
Not that anybody needed the permission here, but if people want to just send
please.
in their Lynn Dawson stories over the entirety of the rest of the show today, every one of them that you have pulled out of the text line has been absolutely wonderful.
We will continue to play those, or I mean read those throughout the show, mixing those in throughout the show as well. 913-912-4810 is the text line. So I feel like, the offseason throughout the years has always been about the Chargers and winning the West, and they're the sneaky good team, and they're the sexy team that people are picking to have a great year. We know that. This offseason, though, is presenting something that is brand new that we have never seen before. Some things stay the same, and some things come out of nowhere that every year you expect the Chargers to be that, but this offseason has brought something that I didn't think we would ever see. Certainly this early in that man's career. And that is the season of fading Patrick Mahomes and the somehow finding ways to come up with anything that might be negative about Patrick Mahomes, or this guy over him or that guy over him. And yes, we get it. It's Tyreek with his new quarterback, Sammy Watkins with his new quarterback, but that's not Sam Acho had his top 5 quarterbacks that he put out. And maybe this was just, people say clickbait, but it was on TV. So is the clicker, like my dad used to call the controller? Can you get me the clicker? Maybe it's clickbait to go and keep it on ESPN to listen to him talk. But his top 5 quarterbacks were Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Matthew Stafford, Aaron Rodgers, Joe Burrow. It's like, come on, man. Then we have the tiers in the Athletic of the 50 executives and coaches and team personnel, etc., and the longtime defensive play caller that said that, the love for Patrick Mahomes is about that unorthodox style and unorthodox throws, not because of his natural pocket presence, that, when it disappears of read one, then he runs, scrambles, and plays street ball, right? So we hear that. Like, there's other things out there besides just Tyreek and Sammy Watkins. Here's Sammy, which has resurfaced since yesterday, because a video that he did with the analyst for the Green Bay Packers did an interview with Sammy Watkins in which he brought up yet again, hey, you told Randall Cobb about Mahomes and Rodgers. So here's the quote from Sammy with Randall Cobb in the locker room, and it's Randall Cobb that asks Sammy, Mahomes or Rodgers.
The people want to know.
What do you think of Randall Cobb?
Or Rodgers? Mahomes or Rodgers?
I've been with both of them. I've been with both of them, and I'm going to be honest. I think Pat is unbelievably good, but A-Rod is on a whole different level.
Ooh, yeah. He said it. We heard it from the man himself.
It's one thing to be like, okay, Tyreek says, Patrick, that's my boy. I'm taking Patrick, right? Patrick is this, Patrick is that. But as far as accuracy-wise, I'm going with Tua all day. It's Tua as far as accuracy. So that's a way to be sort of being able to be two things at once. I'm complimenting Patrick Mahomes. I'm not tearing him down. But I'm also going to give some love to my new quarterback in Tua. Okay. And people reacted the way that they did, and understandably, because, Tua being more accurate than Patrick Mahomes. It's interesting when, ESPN went and talked to all these different people and all these different analysts, and they ranked quarterbacks on arm strength and accuracy and touch and mechanics and field vision and decision-making with the football and compete level and toughness and pocket presence and scrambling and second reaction ability. And what's odd is that in accuracy, Tua wasn't in the top 10, nor was he in the also receiving votes category for accuracy, which is weird because Mahomes was fourth behind Rodgers, Brady, and Burrow. And you can argue, should he be fourth, but still fourth as opposed to not in the top 10. But regardless, that's one way of trying to be complimentary of both. But Sammy Watkins saying, I've been around both guys, And A-Rod is on a whole different level is different than going, Aaron Rodgers for this, Patrick Mahomes for that. Like, it's one thing if you were to say, well, I think Rodgers is better than Patrick Mahomes. Okay, fine. But a whole different level is where it's going to be objectionable.
I don't know if throughout the course of us doing the show together, I don't know if we've ever been farther apart on something that you have brought to the table.
Okay.
No jokes here. Don't deflect. No jokes. Start of the zone with Shane behind the board. Beards takes over. Drake's back there today. Who do you prefer? Who's the best of the board ops there? Who do you like having on the side of the glass?
I think it's Shane he's on a whole different level.
You deflected. You quoted Sammy Watkins verbatim. What's your real answer? Think about it. What's your real answer?
Well, that's the point. Is like, well, I think they all do something different. Like, you can be, but the whole different level. Like, again, when Tyreek says, oh, Pat's my guy.
Drake's at a whole different level in terms of the number of hours he's put in behind that board. You could say Drake's at a whole different level, but then Beards is going to come back next week, and we're going to say, hey, Beards, don't listen to that clip where I said Drake's at a whole different level, because he is.
I get the point that you're saying, which is why
I love that Beards pushes the ball downfield, and the twitch, is easy to use. I think
that's right.
Beards is the most accurate, but he hasn't been doing it as long.
He doesn't say a higher level. He says another level. Yeah, a different level.
Whole different level.
Here's why I think
that could be a lower level. It's
different. You think that's what he was going with? A whole different lower level?
All right, Drake, you just kicked Shane straight down to third place. The distance there now is unbelievable.
His praise of Aaron Rodgers, and then he switches at the last minute, like, well, he's on a whole different level, lower than one Patrick Mahomes. That to me is where it's like, all right, come on.
But Aaron Rodgers has been doing it for a decade before Patrick Mahomes got here. I understand that, but here's the thing:
good for him.
Are you going to give your new quarterback the most tepid possible praise, or would you rather say, you know what, the guy I used to work with is going to end up taking a little bit of a shot here, but he's going to understand because it's a football team with 53 guys on this roster.
Yeah,
I understand where they're coming from there. That to me isn't even actually the place that I think we're the farthest apart on this one.
Okay.
As the great poet Jack Harlow once said, I guess that when the whole world loves you, people only got one way to stand out. That's Patrick Mahomes, legitimately. This was always coming. As soon as he was an MVP and then a Super Bowl MVP, we're talking about his voice and his mannerisms and his family, and he's not actually a top 5 quarterback. If you're the places you were quoting from there, you've got an anonymous Jack Del Rio, allegedly.
I'm still going with Spagnuolo.
Sure. You've got an anonymous defensive play caller, a bad take factory, and the combination, you can give me both of the Acho brothers, absolutely unwatchable. Just neither one of them have ever had a good take on anything. Right. And then 2 wide receivers who are catching passes from different quarterbacks now. They'd like to get those targets from Aaron Rodgers and from Tua. So, I think if you hooked up Sammy Watkins to some truth serum, he probably wouldn't say it is a whole other level. And even if he did, man, I just don't. He won a Super Bowl here. I'm not insecure about if Sammy Watkins loved Patrick Mahomes enough. I bet Patrick Mahomes is not offended by that at all. And ultimately, these are sources I don't really care about hearing from. Maybe it would be different if there was a name attached to the defensive play caller, or if Josh McDaniels went out and said, yeah, we're not worried about Patrick Mahomes this week. We're going to hold him to 17, 18 points probably and do a little victory lap and get out of there. That's something. But bad take factory, 2 quarterbacks or 2 wide receivers are playing with new quarterbacks now, and an anonymous dude who we got a lot of mileage out of, I'm not surprised by any of that, because that's the cycle. People didn't hate Tom Brady whenever he was a fat kid out of Michigan. People hated Tom Brady when they got sick of seeing him win. Patrick Mahomes is at Tom Brady levels on that. A whole other level, you could argue.
Well, but look, it's one thing, again, agreed with a wide receiver saying this or a wide receiver saying that when he's at that particular quarterback. But then maybe it's the hot take factory, the cycle that goes on. But then, first take this morning, or get up, whatever it is, in the morning, has the...
Forgive me for not being able to differentiate.
Yeah, I apologize.
You and millions of people have that problem.
I apologize. Cold pizza, I believe is what it's called.
Dude, I loved it when it was cold pizza. I think I loved it just because I love cold pizza.
So they have a round table, and they've got 4 people that all go the same route of oh yes, Aaron Rodgers is on a different level than Patrick Mahomes. And okay, he's got 4 MVPs, Mahomes has 1.
Sure.
Okay, yeah, that's a different level. They both have 1 Super Bowl, though.
Sure.
Patrick Mahomes hasn't failed in the playoffs as often as Aaron Rodgers has. And, I think it was Hasselback that brought up and said, look, the last 4 years for Aaron Rodgers, he's got 136 touchdowns and 15 interceptions. And that's legit. That's absolutely legit. That's amazing.
Unprecedented.
Over 4 years. Mahomes has 151 and 36. Yep. So that's still 21 more interceptions.
Incredible, though.
It's, 15 more touchdowns and 21 more interceptions. So it's not nearly the level of the touchdown and interception ratio. They both completed, really right at 66% of their passes. Mahomes has almost 2,000 yards more passing than Aaron Rodgers does. But I think what's being missed is that those last 4 years are a year of starters, 11, 12, 13, and 14 for Rodgers, and it's 1, 2, 3, and 4 for Patrick Mahomes. So when he's on a whole different level, okay, well, what's the relative term with that? He's on a whole different level because of the touchdowns and the interception ratio over the last 4 years. That's awesome. Okay, let's use the last 4 years.
I don't agree with Sammy Watkins, but I understand why he said it.
Oh, no, I agree.
Tyreek is super wrong, but I get why he said it.
Right, no,
if MVS got here and said Aaron Rodgers is great, but Patrick Mahomes is on a whole other level, we would all love that. That's what MVS would need to say, because if he got here and said, yeah, it's been okay with 15, but boy, Aaron Rodgers is different, we'd all be going, excuse me? Yeah. Pardon?
Well, you and I agree on that then.
Right.
So we're in agreement on that understandable why the wide receiver said that.
Have to.
You
almost have to.
But then also you've got Sammy Watkins, who does believe he is a reptilian solar being.
Taking the messenger into account is very important. That's a great point.
There is that aspect as well. So it's like, okay, you use the entire career. Okay, Aaron Rodgers has 4 MVPs. Understandable. Okay, you use the last 4 years. Well, Aaron Rodgers has 2 MVPs. Mahomes has 1. But Mahomes also has a 50-touchdown passing season, a 5,000-yard passing season, has a Super Bowl and a Super Bowl MVP, and has been to 4 straight AFC championship games and has gone to 2 Super Bowls, if we're just using the last 4 years to differentiate Rodgers and Mahomes. I think they're both amazing quarterbacks. I think it's easy to say they're both amazing quarterbacks. I prefer Mahomes, but I also understand why some would say Aaron Rodgers. I scoff at the agreement and then carrying on with Watkins and saying, yeah, no, Rodgers is on a completely different level.
Sure, right.
No, he's not.
People also shouldn't be taking that as good analysis. I think that's the thing with all of these ones that we're kind of talking about. Like, all of those places, I think, have pretty unreliable narrators, have pretty biased messengers. Tyreek Hill and Sammy Watkins are biased on a new team. If you are, I'm sorry, which Acho was it? I think it was Sam Acho. You said
one of the Achos.
I think Emmanuel is still on FS1. I don't. But if one of the Achos says something,
it's the brother named Nacho.
It just N apostrophe. That's good. I don't. They're there to say that, so we will talk about them and say their name on the radio.
Probably.
And we haven't done this yet. I'm sure someday we probably will have a conversation pre-show where we go, hey, so this Royals thing, what do you think? We do this for Sound Off all the time, where you don't want to overlap, especially in TV. So, this is a super benign example. I'm opening the curtain a little bit. Last time I was on, it was like, hey, which rookie are you most looking forward to seeing? I think you did that also. We've done different versions of that. Well, I told the chat there, I was like, I could talk about Karlaftis, Sky Moore, or Isaiah Pacheco, whatever. And then somebody picked Sky Moore, and so I talked about Karlaftis, and somebody else talked, that sort of thing. So we're not all just saying the same stuff over and over again. I think there's a big difference in doing that in terms of like, hey, let's not be redundant versus, hey, let's just try to get this clip picked up virally. And that's sort of the FS1 first things first, whatever sort of model. I can't remember the actual name of Speak for Yourself. Is that? Can't remember.
Speak for your cold pizza. Take Get Up.
Get your cold pizza up first. Cold.
Cool.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I just those are factories for these conversations.
Well, but if that's the case, then I think that is a misstep in analysis in general.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Because you're putting your name next to that.
Absolutely.
And that name is going to be attached to that. If for that one show, it's, hey, you choose this side, I'll choose that side. I did that one time in my career, and I'll never do it again. And it was when I was doing the Sunday morning show.
Uh-huh.
And Herm Edwards had said, all those crazy numbers that they're putting up, that's Arena League football. It's about controlling the clock and things like that. I disagreed with Herm.
Right.
So did the host of the show. So then to have a conversation, I took the other side.
Right.
And was like, no, I see where Herm is coming. I agree with Herm and this, and you got to do it. You got to do it. But then the reaction was like, how could you do you not understand football? And I'm like, well, no, we did it for the... Oh, wait, you think that's actually now my opinion on that? Never again. I don't care if we agree on stuff or disagree, the same thing. I don't care. I'm going to give you my opinion from now on, which would be dumb if ESPN or Fox Sports or whatever, did that route, because if Acho, Sam, or Na or whoever put that out there, his name is now attached to that forever.
Yes.
So that's dumb.
But
we got a break.
I think that our general TV culture, people would rather be loud wrong than quiet right. And so you get FS1.
Lynn Dawson also not knowing who Quiet Riot was either. More Zone next.
For NFL action, there's only one station to follow all season long. Sports Radio 810 WHB. Sports Radio 810 is the home of NFL Sundays, Thursday, Sunday, and Monday Night Football. And Sports Radio 810 is your home for the NFL playoffs. Follow the NFL on Kansas City's hometown radio station, Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Looking for Chiefs tickets for Thursday? Check out my friends at Tickets for Less. Head over to ticketsforless.com today and shop the best selection of Chiefs tickets at the best prices with no per-ticket service fees. When I tell you they have the best prices, it's because it's true. Do it for yourself. Look around. Compare other sites. But don't be fooled by their pricing tactics where they balloon prices at checkout. If you've ever bought tickets on the internet, you know that the number you see first is not the final number. That's not the case at Tickets for Less, because at Tickets for Less, the price you see is always the price you pay. And with Chiefs tickets, you're always getting the best deal. Go shop now at ticketsforless.com.
Worried about gas prices and heard that none of the car dealers have inventory? Well, Shawnee Cycle Plaza has the solution for you. Shawnee Cycle Plaza has lots of motorcycles in stock, with many of them getting 40 to 100 miles per gallon fuel economy. Honda, Yamaha, Kawasaki, and CF Moto all under one roof at Shawnee Cycle Plaza. Don't ride motorcycles, still save on gas with their large selection of specialized turbo and Yamaha Power Assist bicycles. Only at Shawnee Cycle Plaza. Call 913-349-6900 or ShawneeCycle.com.
Jayhawk fans, season tickets for the 2022 Kansas football season are on sale for as low as $185. Get your tickets now at kuathletics.com/tickets or by calling 800-34-HAWKS.
Hey, gutter guy, that's what you'll be saying if you're like me and you don't want to have to deal with the gutters on your house. Getting on a ladder? No thank you. No matter if you've just bought your first home or you've lived there for 40 years. The gutter guy will take care of all your gutter needs. Whether that's gutter installation, gutter repair, or gutter leaf protection, the Gutter Guy's got you taken care of. Get your free estimate today. Call the Gutter Guy at 913-707-4554. That's 913-707-4554, or go to heygutterguy.com.
From the recession in 2008 to the pandemic, crazy inflation, high gas prices, and even a shortage in baby formula, A1 Mortgage has weathered it all. How, you ask? Great leaders and love for our local community. A1 Mortgage is a local, veteran-owned business out of beautiful Lee Summit, serving all our friends in the Kansas City area. Our customer service and attention to detail is why our customers tell their family and friends to contact A1 Mortgage. Purchasing a home or using the equity for a quick refinance, call A1 Mortgage 816-822-8888. You have questions, we have answers. When you're ready to turn your dream into a reality, call A1 Mortgage 816-822-8888. That's 822-8888, or apply online at a1mortgage.com.
A1 Mortgage, making your dreams a reality is what we do.
A1 Mortgage Group, LLC, a Kansas and Missouri licensed mortgage company, NMLS 268370. Terms and conditions apply, subject to change without notice.
Do you know the common signs of transmission trouble?
Your engine revs before falling into gear, shifting is rough, or you're leaking reddish-brown fluid.
Knowing the signs could mean repair instead of replace.
That's where we come in. We're certified transmission.
The job done right at the right price.
If it's just another day, that doesn't mean you deserve just another shower. Nebbia by Moen Quattro creates 4 unique shower experiences. Relieve, soothe, clarify, and cleanse to give you all the escape while using 50% less water than standard showers, making your everyday routine an experience. Water designs our life. Who designs for water? Moen.
The roar of our engines, the pump of our heartbeats, the pedal to our metal, the sparks that ignite us, the pistons that push us, the passions that drive us. From the feelings that move us to the places that pull us on the roads that unite us. With nearly 6,000 stores and over 17,000 auto care centers, Napa has America's largest network of parts and care, here to keep you firing on all cylinders.
Let's face it, food shortages are a real threat now. Supply chain breakdowns, inflation, fuel prices, global conflicts, fertilizer cutbacks, farmers being encouraged not to plant. The stage is set for the peanut butter to hit the fan. But for some reason, Americans are still in denial about food shortages. Listen, we don't take risks with other things in our lives, so why take risks with your food security? MyPatriotSupply.com.
All right, we'll talk with Jeff Montgomery, Bally Sports, Royals Hall of Famer, Royals Insider, presented by Sandlot Goods, sandlotgoods.com. Monty, we'll talk with him some Royals baseball, and also see if he's got any stories or memories, probably memories, but what are his memories and thoughts when he thinks of the life of Len Dawson, an amazing life lived. Len Dawson passing away this morning at age 87. So we'll talk with Monty about that. And also, has he ever had an experience like Jonathan Heasley on the mound last night? I think we would probably have heard of it before. He would probably have told that story before, that he did have an experience like that. But just interesting for those that were watching. And then my brother at the game was like, hey, are they showing this on TV? Yes, they are.
When I want to beat the summer heat, I head straight to Angie's Frozen Custard for their world-famous key lime pie concrete. And now, there's a new Angie's.
How are you, sir?
Doing good, Jason. It's one of those times of year where you're a little mixed about things going on, but unfortunately things have not been great here for the Royals over the last week or so since we talked last.
No, they have not. And, we watch sports, we look at it, and we get frustrated when games happen and losses happen and things like that. But, then there's perspective that happens with this morning when a Kansas City sports icon in Lynn Dawson, who passed away, less than a little short of a couple of weeks ago when he went into hospice. We knew that it wasn't long, unfortunately, and we get the news this morning. We've been talking about it here in the show, Monty, just about memories and things about Lynn Dawson and interactions. What do you think of and remember of Lynn Dawson?
Well, first, I always remember watching Lynn Dawson on that the Saturday morning show where he talked about the NFL.
Inside the NFL was yeah.
Yeah, that's what I first remember Lynn Dawson growing up in Ohio. And when I came to Kansas City, sure enough, Lynn was doing sports at KMBZ at the time. And got to know Lynn. He was out the ballpark a whole lot of our games, and was always great to talk to, and always had a real kind of a calming effect. Whether you're going good or going bad, Lenny the Legend always had a way of kind of cheering you up and make you feel good.
Was it different when it was like an ex-athlete that was in there that's been through it, that knows that when you're struggling, what it feels like, when you're playing well, what it feels like? That, I know he's on the media side, the broadcasting side when he's doing interviews, but was there a different feeling than that when you knew, like, it's Lynn Dawson? This guy won a Super Bowl. This guy was, Player of the Year in the AFL, and he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I think that really made a big difference, especially as a Royal and having a Kansas City icon. Really kind of feeling like you're part of his team. He was one of you, and you were with him. And the other thing I remember about Lynn is a lot of times as a player you're asked to record some PSA, some public service announcements. And I remember I'd be out on the field trying to record one and going through take number 5, number 6, whatever, and Lynn would come over and say, "Hey, just slow down a little bit, slow down, calm down a little bit here, and it'll go." And then you would nail it the next one. So,
wow.
I remember that about Lynn as well. He was just always there, and just a very interesting man to talk to, and was fortunate to have a chance to get to know Lynn over the years and spend time with Lynn, and just really sorry, that this time has come for Lynn and his family, and wish his family the best.
Absolutely. Jeff Montgomery is our guest. No easy transition to then get into the mundane stuff of sports, but we do that. Yesterday, the Royals end up losing to the Diamondbacks. They fought back and then ultimately, gave it up there in the 8th when it got away, or in the 9th when it got away. One of the stories from last night, Monty, was Jonathan Heasley, who goes through 4 2/3, 4 walks, 2 strikeouts, does not give up an earned run, and 4 hits. But the real story was what was happening on the mound with Jonathan Heasley. What were you thinking when that was going on in back-to-back innings for him? And ultimately, it was time for Mike Matheny just to say, "Look, if you can't keep your lunch down, then it's time to get out of the game."
Yeah, I just really felt bad for Jonathan Heasley because he wanted to be out there. He wanted to continue, and this was something that I had heard of before. In fact, I'd seen some videos last year when we first had him come up to the Royals about a situation that happened, I think, with Northwest Arkansas in the playoffs. He was close to finishing a game. He goes behind him out, and exactly what went on last night. And then, sure enough, he gets back on the hill and finishes off the game. I think he threw a shutout, actually. And so we knew about it. Just didn't realize how not necessarily common it was, but how frequent it has happened to him over the years in his athletic, life. Whether it be in high school playing football or through his college career, or now at the highest level where all the focus and the attention is on you. So really felt bad for him, and was very happy to hear him speak after the game last night that he felt just fine. It was just part of what he goes through, and he used the word adrenaline. So I think it's just something where he gets so amped up on adrenaline that everyone reacts differently. Some it's physical, which obviously with him it was. Some it's a little different, but really felt bad for him because he had navigated through some base runners there early in the game. He got that kind of freaky double play in the first inning and pitched around 4 walks over 4+ innings, some base hits, but had a 0 on the board, and he was 1 out away from potentially qualifying for a win. And wins are really, really hard to get. And when you have a chance to secure one with only 1 more out, you sure want to do that. So that's why you could sense the frustration. He knew it, and it wasn't just to win. He wanted to go deeper in that game because the Royals bullpen is really, really, it's running on fumes right now.
Yeah, have you ever experienced anything close to that of what Heasley was going through? And it wasn't a virus or a sickness. It was, as he said, it's happened before, an adrenaline or some other things happening that just can't seem to control it. But anything near like that when you've been on the mound in your career?
Not that I can remember. I had a teammate in rookie ball and A-ball who had similar situations where before he'd go into a game, it was questionable on whether he was just shaking and sometimes throwing up and going through similar type things. So I think everyone deals with it differently. I personally never had to deal with that, but I know from, especially early on, you do get so amped up, so adrenalized, and it's just everything that kind of goes into preparing to perform. And you put a lot of focus and a lot of attention on it, and you work really hard to be ready. And I think just that moment brings out, that kind of adrenalized feeling. But no, I've never experienced it, but I do remember another player that I played with that had pretty similar situation as Jonathan.
Well, and it's interesting because, we see guys that go out there and maybe we think of like the first time they go out on the mound or a debut when, everything's so fast and maybe their nerves and their legs are shaking and, the game just doesn't feel like it's natural, like you're in a spot that you're not comfortable in. But, he's been in 17 games in the big league, so which isn't, obviously 17 games does not make a career, but it also is maybe another reminder that even as you get more comfortable and you've been out there 17 times, that as you said, even throughout your career, you understand that you're still going out there for your job, your career, and trying to perform and help out your team. And also, there's a lot of people in the crowd. You're doing it in front of 10, 20, sometimes 30, 40,000 people that you're out there trying to compete. So even as you get more comfortable in the big leagues, sort of a reminder that, even when those guys are out there, all eyes on them. The TV, the fans, everywhere somebody's watching, they're looking at that guy, especially a pitcher, Monty, that you've been through. You know that you're up there on the mound, everybody's staring at you.
Right, all the action starts with the pitcher. And I mean, it kind of reminded me a little bit when Kirk Gibson was in Kansas City, and totally different reaction, but this guy would get adrenalized. He would get amped up. He got more amped up than any player I think I've ever played with. And I remember on opening day, Kirk Gibson was like a caged animal. He was so fired up, so adrenalized, so ready to go. He handled it differently. He was beating on things and hitting things, and just he was so wired that, to go play a baseball game. But again, it just reminds me of how different everybody handles situations, and whether it be physically or their approach or whatever it is. Everyone's so different. But let's hope that Jonathan Heasley can find a way to get past that. I think it'll be difficult because that's something obviously it's hard to control.
Jeff Montgomery is our guest, presented by Sandlot Goods, sandlotgoods.com. Bobby Witt had a good night last night, unfortunately in a loss. It's a shorter period of time, small sample size. But the last 5 games, we know he had been struggling as of late. Like, these young guys have been coming up, and we've been talking about the young guys and what they're doing, and Bobby Witt just sort of there, being kind of an average player at the plate and having some errors in the field. But last 5 games, he's 6 for 18. 5 of those 6 hits are extra base hits, a couple of home runs, a couple of doubles, a triple last night. You feel like maybe, in these 5 games and now moving forward that Bobby may be breaking out of what was kind of a prolonged, just sort of average stretch for probably below average for him. And now maybe he's, barreling up the ball and driving it and getting back into what people have talked about being Bobby Witt for so long?
Yeah, I think so. And I know on the road trip I mentioned to my broadcast partner, Bill Goldberg, that it looks like Bobby's starting to see the ball better, starting to square up more baseballs, and sure enough, it's carried over. So that's part of the baseball. I mean, streaks and slumps. We've seen the best in the world go through the slumps. Oftentimes it's not as long or prolonged as some other more ordinary hitters. But, yeah, everybody's going to experience it, and I think it's just a matter of when you have an outstanding player with all the tools that Bobby Witt Jr. has, those valleys are going to be shorter and less than someone who doesn't have that same level of ability. But it is good to see him swinging the bat the way he has here as of late.
Visiting with Jeff Montgomery from Valley Sports. He's presented by Sandlot Goods. Drew Waters makes his Major League debut on Monday, and he hasn't got a hit yet, but he does have an RBI in what was a pretty awesome at-bat on Monday, and a guy that was, the reputation of being a free swinger, a high strikeout rate, a low walk rate, and that has certainly changed with his work with, Drew Saylor in the minor leagues, and he's talked about the difference that has made at the big leagues. Again, no hit yet, but I don't think the Royals, in a situation like this, in a season like this, I don't believe they would bring Drew Waters up just for the heck of it. They bring him up when they feel like they're ready to go. I mean, Vinny Pasquantino, was down in the minors, and people were, clamoring and calling for Vinny Pasquantino to be called up, and they waited and waited. So I don't think this is, all right, let's get ahead of ourselves. So we'll see what Drew Waters can do. It's been a couple of games that you've been able to watch him play. What have you seen from him, and what do you hear about what the Royals think he can do for this ball club?
Well, I haven't seen him a lot in these couple games, and still looking for his first hit. But what I've heard is very positive. And how does that translate from what he has done in Omaha to now that he's here in the big leagues? Time will tell on that one. But the way he has made the adjustments and the changes since he was acquired and came over in that trade, it seems to me like it's all been good. I know he had a streak where he was pretty cold. I think the team was in Toledo a few weeks ago and went over, had a situation, made some adjustments and came back and just was barreling baseballs again. I think they had just come from Louisville last week, and he had one of those series where they couldn't keep him down. So time will tell, how the adjustments play out. But I mean, he's obviously gifted with regards to speed. He's got that, that power bat. He's a guy that hits from both sides of the plate. Rusty Kuntz raves about his defensive abilities. So, there was a ball last night that I was kind of surprised that he didn't make the play on.
Yeah.
It wasn't an easy catch, but it was a catch that I think a lot of outfielders, really top-notch, high-level outfielders make that play. But, there are certain adjustments to go on playing in, these bigger stadiums now. So those are kind of those wait-and-see situations. Time will tell, how that all eventually plays itself out.
Yeah, and I think if he has that same ball again, he makes the play. But that's kind of the difference between center field, which he's played his whole life, and right field, is that, slicing ball. It's obvious the route that he took, that thing sliced more than he thought it was going to. And I think if he takes a better route, understanding that ball is going to come back to you, I think he makes the play, because it was more of, I'm going to my right, and now I've got to retreat and go back instead of just meeting that ball at the point of attack. I think same ball tonight. If he's playing right field, he makes the play.
Yeah, and again, that's just part of the adjustment period. And when you have ability and tools, especially superior and high-level ones, then usually you make those adjustments quicker.
Yep, visiting with Jeff Montgomery. The interesting part about what we're seeing now is with Drew Waters called up, and I know Vinny Pasquantino was on the IL, and hopefully it is only the 10 days with the shoulder. But when Vinny's back and healthy, I mean, there are times where you might see, 7 rookies in the lineup with, Melendez and Witt and Vinny and Massey and Prado and Waters and Isbell. Throw in, Salvi and Lopez as the other guys that would be in the lineup of 8-9 certain times, not every day. But it's interesting that this team, from being veteran at the beginning of the season to the transition to this, that it's clearly the next wave. What is I mean, it's obviously rare, but just the situation the Royals are in, that there are times when they go out on the field and wins matter, right? Wins and that development matters. But ultimately, some of these guys are just trying to figure out if they can stay in the big leagues. And it's one thing to have 1 or 2 or 3 rookies, Monty, but there are games when they can have 7 rookies out of the 9 guys in the lineup.
Yeah, it is very unusual, and especially with the game the way it is today, with the limitations on call-ups in September. And what it reminds me of is a little bit going back years ago when teams are going to go through a rebuild. They go young and they might have half dozen rookies playing in the whole month of September. But this is so different because you don't have that roster, that expanded roster flexibility. So it's pretty challenging for Mike McNeely and his staff to find ways to get everybody those looks that they need to see and those repetitions they need. I mean, you need repetitions to impress. You need repetitions to stay sharp. There are certain limitations on how many you can get because there are just so many guys they want to take a look at, and not just the position guys, but even their pitching staff. And I've heard the word matrix used, that they've got this matrix on how they're going to try to kind of shuffle guys in and out. Like Max Castillo, for example, threw a nice game in Tampa. Next day he gets sent down just because they want to take a look at other guys. He'll be back, but they're just trying to figure out ways to keep everybody sharp and able to get those repetitions, get those looks. And it's kind of going to be like a shuttle, I think, between Omaha and Kansas City. And now the minor league season goes almost to the same ending point as a major league season. So they have that situation where they're able to accomplish that. But, it's very different to see that many younger players on one lineup on a pretty much a nightly basis now.
I mentioned Vinny going on the IL, and I wonder early in somebody's career that the big league club and guys are just getting used to somebody's body and how they perform and how they, maybe recover from things. He's on the 10-day IL, and again, hopefully it's only the 10 days, but I would guess, as opposed to Salvi, that they've been around for a long time, they understand the difference that Salvi is versus some other, bodies. But with a guy like Vinny Pasquantino, you probably take the extra precaution, right? You're even more cautious with a guy like that, not just because he's young, but you've never been around him on the IL, right? They don't know when he's injured, how he recovers, what his pain threshold is. Are you hurt or are you injured, right? Can you continue to play? What's your 75%? What's your 90%? Can you go through that? Because this is the first time they'll experience it with Vinny Pasquantino. Hopefully, it's very few times in his career that happens, but I would guess that Vinny, that they'll be probably even more cautious than they would, 2, 3, 4 years down the road if he has the same situation.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing is when you have a situation like Vinny Pasquantino has with his shoulder, is that you just don't want him going to the plate and favoring it and changing his swing and getting out of his natural swing because a concern or fear that maybe it's going to get that, what he calls a stinger again in that shoulder. But I think I know from my experience as a younger player, you get it to the major leagues, you work much harder. You do more when you get here because you want to stay here. And I think sometimes you push it a little bit further than your body has ever experienced by the workload, by the intensity, all the things that you do. And I think this was the concern with Vinny, is that this happened a week or so back. Not as severe maybe as far as what we'll call the stinger was concerned. But when he did it a couple nights ago, you could tell that was a really intense level of pain that he was experiencing. So I think that you just want to make sure that you let it cool down, you let it get to a point where he can handle the workload without a concern that he's going to do it again, and always have that in the back of his mind. So I think all the medical tests and the imaging they had, it was very positive. It didn't show anything as far as damage, but there is some inflammation there. I just want to let it, I guess, cool down as much as possible before you kind of expose yourself to that workload that you have to go through to be ready to play.
Jeff Montgomery is our guest, presented by Sandlot Goods. Last one for you, Monty. Brady Singer on the mound tonight, going up against the Diamondbacks. And we've mentioned before, what he's done and since he's been called back up. But, looking at his numbers, 17 games since he's been recalled, 104 innings. He's got an ERA just barely over 3. He's got a whip of 1.13, and he's got 108 strikeouts and 28 walks. So those are the numbers. We've talked about what you've seen, but I wonder, like, how many starts do you think he needs before you personally, Monty, are comfortable in thinking, okay, this is who Brady Singer is. This isn't a hot streak. This isn't a, okay, he can, maybe fall back into some, some inconsistencies. That this guy, 17 games, 104 innings, he's done this. Has he already met that? Do you want to see a little bit more? Where is it from a pitcher who's as young as Brady and trying to find success and consistency to where he has a number of starts and you go, all right, he has turned the corner?
Well, if I were going to say now, I'd say to me it appears as though Brady Singer has arrived. It seems like we have seen a guy enough now, and I'm not just saying on the games where he goes out and strikes out 12 and gives up 2 or 3 hits and throws a shutout. I've seen him now maneuver through a couple games where he has not been quite as sharp. In fact, his last game out, he wasn't quite as sharp as he had been in some of his previous outings, but he still was able to find a way to put zeros on the board and get deep into a baseball game and do all the things you want to see from a player on a consistent basis. And I just think he's gotten to that point now where he's learned from some of the shortcomings that he's had. He's improved himself considerably. And one thing that was impressive to me in his last outing, he had a pickup at second base. And Brady Singer's a guy that has not been known for being that kind of that well-rounded, that total package with regards to fielding his position, holding runners on base. And that pickup to me showed a whole lot as far as his confidence, as far as being more than just a guy that can deliver a baseball to the catcher's. But now he's kind of rounding himself out as a more complete player as a pitcher, and especially a starting pitcher who has to find ways to keep those runners on base and stop them from running like crazy and fielding his position well. So I think that was a big step as well, and it obviously helped the Royals win a ball game because he had really it seemed like a turning point in the game when he did that from a confidence standpoint for Brady Singer. But I'd say right now he appears to be at a point where you pretty much know what you're going to get. Now, it's not going to be 33 starts in a year where you're going to get a guy that's going to go out and give you 7 innings and strike out 8 to 10 batters every time. But on those days, on those 30-plus starts that you make during the year, those days, those 8 or 10 starts that you have not in good command or maybe not as good as stuff, you find a way to work through it. And that's what you want to see someone with Brady Singer's ability get to where now you pretty much know he's going to give you quality, and sometimes it's going to be outstanding quality every time he takes them out.
Jeff Montgomery, Valley Sports, Royals Hall of Famer, Royals Insider here for 810, presented by Sandlot Goods, sandlotgoods.com. Monty, appreciate the time, sir. Thank you for the time today, and have a good broadcast tonight. Hopefully Singer goes out there and the Royals split this quick 2-game set against the Diamondbacks. Thank you, sir.
You bet, Jason. I appreciate you having me on today.
You bet. There's Jeff Montgomery, again, Valley Sports, Royals Hall of Famer, presented by Sandlot Goods, Kansas City's hat manufacturer, sandlotgoods.com. And yeah, an interesting scene last night with Jonathan Heasley. And I wonder how often a broadcast would show that. I don't think they knew what was going to happen when they showed Heasley, going down behind the mound and sort of going into a catcher's squat position and then throwing up. It's on TV. You don't know that's going to happen. And as soon as it does, you're like, oh, okay. That's interesting. And you wonder, what's going on? Is he sick? Is he just dehydrated? It's hot out there. He's sweating. They bring some water. Hopefully he's able to get through it. They tell the story, Rex Hudler does, about, the minor leagues when, that Jeff Montgomery was telling there that it happened before, gets back on the mound, finishes a complete game. This one, not so much. I don't know how often it happens for Heasley, but, he said last night after the game that it happens, something that goes on in his career. He's a pitching version of Willie Beeman, apparently, and it's just sort of an adrenaline thing for Jonathan Heasley. So interesting last night. And we'll see tonight with Brady Singer. I like to hear that from Jeff Montgomery. He's arrived. Because you always, 17 starts is pretty good. I mean, it's an extended time. It's not 4 or 5 starts. It's 104 innings that he has pitched since being recalled. And it's a 3.1 ERA, which, is not a 2 ERA, but it also ain't a 5. And a whip of just over 1. And he's also got 108 strikeouts in the 104 innings that he has pitched. And so, at what point do you stop sort of holding your breath saying, boy, I hope it doesn't strike midnight. I hope he doesn't go back to being the inconsistent guy that, you get 3 innings and 5 earned runs, and then you get 6 innings and 3 earned runs, and you get 4 innings and 1 earned run, but he can't make it very far because he's got an elevated pitch count, and then 7 innings and 2 earned runs and 8 Ks. You're like, ooh, there it is. It's so tantalizing that for a while with Brady, since he's been called back up, there has been that, I'm excited to see him pitch, but it's a little part of, we've seen so often the flip side. So Monty's saying, no, he's arrived. This is when he's going out there and he's got the stuff and he's striking guys out and he's in command and he's controlling the game, that's one thing. But when he doesn't have the sharpest stuff that night and he doesn't have complete command of all of his stuff, can he get through a game and go 6 innings and only give up a couple of earned runs? Can he do that? And he did in his most recent outing. Hopefully it's the awesome stuff tonight against the Diamondbacks. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling. Thank you to Jeff Montgomery, presented by Sandlot Goods, sandlotgoods.com. He's from Valley Sports, Royals Hall of Famer, Royals Insider. More Zone rolling along next.
Thursday night, it's the final tune-up before Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs kick off a new NFL season. We'll get you ready for the Chiefs and Packers with pregame beginning at 6 on Sports Radio 810 WHB. You'll hear from Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, and much more. And we'll be back even before the final tick of the clock with your calls. Jack Johnson hosts our postgame coverage beginning at 9 o'clock. Follow the Chiefs on your home for the NFL playoffs and Super Bowl 57, Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, it's the final tune-up for the Chiefs coming up tomorrow night, and it's the final Chiefs game that you will not be able to place a little bit of a wager on from the comfort of your own home in Kansas, because September 1st, that is changing, and DraftKings Sportsbook is also coming to the Sunflower State. And soon you're going to be able to bet on money lines and spreads and props and more with one of America's top-rated sportsbook apps. That's DraftKings Sportsbook. And to celebrate, all new customers will receive $100 in free bets when you sign up using code 810WHB. That's 810WHB. Plus, one lucky customer of DraftKings is going to win a $100,000 free bet. DraftKings Sportsbook is giving you $100 in free bets just for signing up today. No deposit required. DraftKings Sportsbook, one of America's top-rated sportsbook apps. Plus, again, you're going to be entered to win a $100,000 free bet when you sign up. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and sign up with code 810WHB to get $100 in free bets to use once mobile sports betting hits Kansas. Plus, one customer will win a $100,000 free bet. That's code 810WHB only at DraftKings Sportsbook.
Gambling problem? Getting help is your best bet. Call 800-522-40.
interaction to really any degree, they came away with like, yeah, and he was just so gracious and nice. And hey, can I take a picture with? Absolutely. Come on over here. And can I get your autograph? Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. So it's been cool to hear some of the stories and those that knew him closely, certainly closer than a lot of us knew him from watching him, whether that be playing or on TV or listening to him on the Chiefs radio network. So it's been a fun show so far in tough circumstances, but a fun show to reminisce and talk about the life of Lynn Dawson. And again, just an amazing life lived. And the, butterfly effect type thing that takes place in sports. And I've talked about it with Deshaun Watson in college, that had he chose Georgia over Clemson in his final two and stayed home and played for Georgia, where is Clemson at? Where's Dabo? How's he viewed? Are they still, quote, Clemsoning? Is Mark Richt still the head coach at Georgia? Do they win a national championship? What's Kirby Smart doing? There's a lot of things
where does he get drafted? Do the Bears
Right.
take Mitch Trubisky? Is Patrick Mahomes a Chief? This is stuff that changes depending on where a totally unrelated quarterback goes to college.
Unbelievable. And so we were talking with Kendall Gammon and just about, Lynn Dawson always making sure that he was appreciative of things that happened in his life. He had said a number of times he's the seventh son of a seventh son, which people said that, that's lucky. And he had said, yeah, that is, because I've lived a pretty charmed life so far. And looking back, if the Texans/Chiefs decide to hire any coach not named Hank Stram, who knows what Lynn Dawson's career is, because he was drafted and just played as a backup in Pittsburgh and wasn't playing, in Cleveland and wasn't playing. And then Hank Stram's like, yeah, we're going to acquire Lynn Dawson. It was like, yeah, that guy can't play football. Yeah, he can, because I coached him at Purdue. And that's the connection. So one, Lynn Dawson choosing Purdue, going there. Hank Stram being at Purdue, not the head coach, but being at Purdue while Lynn Dawson was there. And then Hank Stram being hired by the Chiefs, Lynn Dawson getting the opportunity, and the rest, as they say, is history.
I imagine there are people who are learning today that Lynn Dawson was a Steeler and then Cleveland after that, before he ended up with the Texans for that 1 year and then was a Chief. Because he is so quintessentially Kansas City Chief.
Yep.
I'm sure most people know the Texans part, but to know all of those different elements, what if the Chiefs hadn't hired Stram? What if they hadn't ended up making that move for Lynn Dawson? What if the Steelers realized they had something special? What if he's a Pittsburgh legend instead of a Kansas City one today? I mean, there's just, like you said, I think that butterfly effect stuff is kind of fun. It's all a little bit, zoomed out and kind of silly, because you can do that for anything. It's happening all the time, I guess. But man, whenever you look and say, hey, look at how much the coin balanced on the edge for a second before it fell one way or the other.
Exactly right.
For Lynn Dawson's life and career to pan out the way they did, tremendous. And then even beyond that, if it's not Dawson and Stram, what are the Kansas City Chiefs right now? Do they exist right now? Do they end up in a different market at some point? What is this? What is the AFL NFL merger if the Chiefs don't win in Super Bowl IV? I mean, a lot of those obviously we have literally no idea about. But man, it is a fascinating thought to realize all of the different points in this city and in this sport that Lynn Dawson had a very, very, very direct impact on.
And you mentioned the coin flip, which is interesting because he ended up being drafted by Pittsburgh because they won the coin flip. They had a tie record with Cleveland, who he ended up playing with a year or on the team for a year. And I don't know if Cleveland drafts him in 57. Is he then a Cleveland star?
Right.
But Pittsburgh wins the coin flip and drafts Lynn Dawson, and then he sits for 3 seasons not doing anything, and then for a season there in Cleveland he plays or is on the team, and then finally the Chiefs are like, or Texans like, we need to go get this guy.
First pick of that draft, Paul Hornung, not bad. Right after Lynn Dawson, you know who went 6th in that draft to Cleveland? I'm giving you the hint because you know it's Cleveland.
Oh, Jim Brown.
Jim Brown. Lynn Dawson, Jim Brown back to back. Jim Parker, tackle for Baltimore, also a Hall of Famer, went a few picks later. Some pretty good football players up top there, but I don't think you could make the argument that anybody stands far above Lynn Dawson from that group. There's some bronze busts in that first round.
How about this in Hank Stram believing in somebody that hadn't shown it in the NFL? 5 years in the NFL for Lynn Dawson before he joined the Dallas Texans. Do you know how many passes he completed in 5 years?
I was just looking at his Pro Football Reference page, so I know it's a very low number.
It's not zero.
It's not zero.
Yeah.
I'm going to completed passes in 5 years.
Yep.
I mean, I think it might have been 25.
21 completions.
Unbelievable.
204 yards and 2 touchdowns in 5 years. And Hank Stram's like, this is our quarterback.
Here's our guy.
So we found our, don't worry, Lamar.
He doesn't sweat, he perspires. Let's go.
Don't worry, Lamar. We've got our guy.
Crazy.
Just unbelievable. That's a faith. That's a faith in somebody that you say, you know what? Been around him. I know what he can do. Let's get this done as he's been, released by the Cleveland Browns. So.
Also, Lynn Dawson did play the longest out of anyone from that draft class. Sonny Jurgensen, just 1 year short. He's also a year older in that draft there. He went way later on, but the longest career out of anybody from that draft class, obviously a championship career as well.
Absolutely. 913-912-4810. We've talked a little football with Sammy Watkins in the comments that we talked about in the 11 o'clock hour. That resurfaced yesterday. He made the comments back in like June, but it resurfaced yesterday with an interview he did with the color commentator for the Packers and talking about, you told Randall Cobb that Aaron Rodgers is on a whole different level than Patrick Mahomes, and then he talked about what Rodgers offers, and so that quote resurfaced yesterday. So we talked a little bit about that as well to go along with the season of doubting.
Yeah, I like that.
Of Mahomes, and make no mistake, he knows this is going on. He hears this stuff. That's where I think it's such a bleep you tour for Mahomes, a scorched earth season for Mahomes, and it's why on September 1st, I'm laying money on Mahomes winning the MVP. I predicted it a week after the Bengals loss, heading into the Super Bowl, that next year Mahomes is going to win the MVP. Now, I didn't know Tyreek Hill would not be on the team.
No.
Right?
No.
I didn't know they were going to draft Sky Moore, have Juju or MVS or whatever. No idea. But just this is the first time it's ever been, you're the reason they lost. Okay. Well, he's not someone that goes quietly into that dark night. He is somebody that's going to have a, you know what, I'll show you. Because he's done that throughout his career. It's been the I'll show you show for Patrick Mahomes, whether it's counting to 10 against the Bears or counting to 4 against the Ravens, or the tweet that he put out with the, taking notes that, just, okay, where? I know what's going on out there. And so, he's heard Tyreek Hill. He's heard, and he's been asked about Tyreek Hill. Andy Reid, not so much, but he has been... Sorry. He has been asked about Tyreek Hill and, Watkins and other guys as well. So we'll see what happens. ESPN put together a list of analysts and executives and a lot of different people to come up with the quarterback rankings in 11 different categories. Arm strength, accuracy, touch, mechanics, field vision, decision-making with the football, because decision-making without the football, Deshaun Watson would score very low.
Got it.
Compete level, toughness, pocket presence, scrambling, second reaction ability.
Sounds like you're reading Jeopardy category.
It really does. I'll take second reaction Jeopardy for 400.
Okay, this quarterback plays for the Packers and came in third.
Yes? Who is Jordan Love?
Sorry about that.
Beep, beep, beep.
Yes.
Who is Matt Flynn?
Close.
Okay.
Yes, close. There is neither a Matt nor a Flynn, nor is there a Jordan or a Love. So you were eliminating names while you were going through this.
I'll keep thinking about it.
Also, why did you get 2 guesses on that one? I feel like that's against the Jeopardy rules.
Beep, beep, beep.
Yes.
What is? Because I don't even know if I answered in a question.
You didn't. Neither one of them. Also, the answers weren't correct, nor were they answered in a question, so you would have lost anyway, even if you had said the correct answer, which was We were looking for Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, I know
Aaron
him.
Rodgers. Josh, you're still up.
Okay, good.
Board is yours.
Good, great, good. I'll take. What was the competitiveness or something? How do we? Come
compete
on,
level.
man. How the
Compete
bleep are we
level.
gauging compete level from the outside here? We're just what like. There's no way that.
Do you
there's
want
no
to
way
know
that,
the?
yes.
Do you want to know the quarterbacks that are ranked in compete level 1 through 10?
I do, because there's no way there's going to be some horrible quarterback on that list just because he competes hard. Like maybe Baker Mayfield is high on there or something, then he is higher there than anywhere else.
Number 1, Brody Croyle. Would you believe
Exactly,
that? Oddly
yes.
enough, it's number 1, Tom Brady. Number 2, Patrick Mahomes. Number 3, Josh Allen. Number 4, Aaron Rodgers. Number 5, Joe Burrow. Number 6, Matthew Stafford. 7, Lamar. 8, Russell Wilson. 9, Justin Herbert. 10, Dak.
Yeah, they're just good quarterbacks. You can't.
Turns out, yes.
Sam Darnold could be the most competitive dude in the world. He wasn't making that list because he's Sam Darnold.
That's probably true. But you know what? I went ahead and decided to assign points to every ranking.
Love it.
Number 1 ranking, you got 10 points. Down to number 10, you got 1 point.
Fantastic.
And if you weren't ranked, you just got 0.
Sure.
Okay? You just got 0. So, out of all the quarterbacks in those 11 different categories, do you know who had the most points? The highest point total.
I think it would be Mahomes. I'm guessing because you're bringing it up, it's probably not true. But I would think that Mahomes would check off enough of those boxes. Where like Tom Brady's not going to win the arm strength competition. If I got to pick like a medal stand, I might go Mahomes, Allen, Herbert. But I don't know.
Tua, actually, number 1.
Wow,
no, that's wrong.
Okay.
Number 1 with 89 points out of the 11 categories, 10 being the most you can get for each category. So 110
This is probably
points.
Rodgers then, maybe.
Mahomes at 89.
Good. Okay, good. Good work, ESPN.
Rodgers at 78.
Yeah, that makes
Mahomes is 11 points better than Rodgers. Brady 72, so he was third. Josh Allen 4th with 64 points. Joe Burrow 5th with 57. Herbert comes in with 54. And then Stafford, Russell Wilson, and then these are all the people that at least got 1 vote. Stafford, Russell Wilson, Lamar, Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott, Deshaun Watson, Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins, Matt Ryan, Jalen Hurts, Justin Fields, and Ryan Tannehill showed up 10th in 1 category.
All
so
right.
he got literally 1 point. Next question, though. There are only 2 quarterbacks out of all of them that showed up in all 11 categories. Only 2 quarterbacks were ranked in the top 10 of all 11 categories.
I'm probably going to regret this, but will you read all the categories again real quick?
Yes, I can. Let's see.
Is Drake trying to get us to break yet?
Potpourri, 80s history,
Yep.
Western civilization. No, arm strength, accuracy, touch, mechanics, field vision, decision-making with the football, compete level, toughness, pocket presence, scrambling, second reaction ability.
I guess I would go Mahomes and Rodgers, but I don't know what list Josh Allen is missing.
Well,
or Herbert for that matter, I guess.
The 2 players that come in ranked in the top 10 in all 11 categories are Mahomes and Herbert.
Huh.
Mahomes and Herbert.
Where did Aaron Rodgers miss the list?
Aaron Rodgers missed the list on
vaccine status.
Was that just in the talk back, Drake? Oh, that was on the air? Okay, good. I was going to call you a coward.
Oddly enough, scrambling. Scrambling, Aaron Rodgers did not receive a vote.
I guess. I think that's probably confusing running ability with out of the pocket. When he ends up out of the pocket, he's deadly. So, all right, whatever. Fair enough.
So the top 10 in scrambling: Lamar, Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Justin Herbert, Justin Fields, Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, and Ryan Tannehill. Now, Deshaun Watson has done a lot of scrambling this offseason, so he has been doing that for the last year and a half. But I was shocked that Rodgers did not show up in that.
Yeah.
So he did not show up in that. And then Brady actually missed 3 categories.
That makes some sense just because of kind of where he's at right now.
But Brady was also number 1 in 5 categories.
That also makes sense. That makes sense that he would have a little bit of ups and downs.
Yeah, he missed the arm strength.
Not very tough or competitive. Lots of people have said.
Right. He missed arm strength, scrambling, and second reaction ability. Brady was not ranked in any of those 3 categories.
I don't know how they're judging second reaction ability, but those first 2 make sense.
But here's what's amazing about Mahomes in that all 11 categories, His lowest ranking of any of them was 4th.
Wow.
So he only had a number 1 ranking in any category, but here are his rankings in all 11. 2, 4, 3, 4, 3, 3, 2, 3, 3, 4, 1.
Huh.
Rodgers, 4, 1, 1, 2, 2, 1, 4, 9, 2, not ranked 3. Brady, not ranked 2, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 7, 1, not ranked, not ranked. Herbert was ranked in all 11, but here are his rankings in all 11. 3, 5, 8, 6, 5, 7, 9, 8, 6, 6, 4. So he's all over the board.
Now, that last one was also Jason's credit card number, so if you want to go ahead and try to take that one to the bank
also,
here real quick, we can have it.
Social security number as well. But that to me was like, it was shocking. 11 categories. He's only number 1 in one of them.
Yeah.
But he's not outside of the top 4 in any of them.
That's interesting, yeah.
So that's how you get to 89 points is that, well, does he have the strongest arm? No, we'll go with Josh Allen. But he's got the second strongest arm. Is he the most accurate? No, Rodgers and Brady, even Burrow. But he's 4th. What about touch? Well, he's 3rd.
Was Burrow over Mahomes on accuracy?
Yeah, he was.
That's because we don't know how to evaluate quarterbacks. That's
he was
silly.
3rd. Again,
he didn't have to do that.
Shockingly, Tua, not there. Touch, is he number 1 in touch? Nobody's 3rd. What about mechanics? Number 1? No, but he's 4th. Field vision, number 1? No, he's 3rd. Decision making with the football, number 1? I'd say he's 3rd. Compete level, number 1? Probably Brady, but Mahomes is right there at number 2. What about toughness? Boy, Allen is tough, Lamar is tough, but Patrick's 3rd. He's probably the 3rd toughest.
He had his kneecap on the side of his leg.
What about pocket presence? Is he number 1? No, Brady, Rodgers, and then Mahomes, probably 3rd. What about scrambling? Probably 4th. What about second reaction ability? Oh, it's Mahomes.
It's Mahomes. Please,
yeah,
God,
he's
give
number
us
1. Yeah, he's number 1, and then maybe a gap, but it's definitely Mahomes. He does have a first place vote in second reaction ability. So yeah, 11 different categories. He was not ranked outside the top 4 in any of them.
He's good, Jason. I know you keep waiting for somebody to tell you that before you fully buy in, but I'm telling you, I don't think you should reconsider.
I think these things say that Rodgers is not on a whole nother level.
That's what it would indicate. But
we'll take a timeout. Wrap up this hour next.
They say consistency is the key to success. They weren't wrong.
When it's time to change.
I've been really congested today because I had a runny nose yesterday, and so this morning I had a couple Benadryl with my coffee, but now it's gone too far, and so I'm just kind of mouth breathing over here.
Yeah, see, so the two of us combined, my body is finally sort of awkwardly changing, and you're the snot-nosed little brat kid.
These ratings, these quarterback ratings. I don't know how we're doing this, Jason.
I want to talk football.
I don't know. Let me rank everything from 1 to 10. Where's that impression going? I don't know. It's kind of stuffy.
Were you trying to do Mahomes there?
Not really, but sometimes it just shows up.
Yeah. What do you think about Sammy saying that about Rodgers?
Well, obviously.
Clear your throat, Jason. Just clear your throat.
Where's our next?
Hi guys, it's Andrew. Are you struggling with erectile dysfunction and sick of the pills? Well, today, Wednesday, August 24th, we're running an unprecedented one-day special you won't want to miss out on. Oak Ridge Medical Clinic uses the most powerful form of wave therapy. This is a technology clinically shown to repair blood vessels and improve blood flow. Even Cambridge has studied our technology. If you're ready to transform your love life, grab your phone. Today is your day. Call us now and you'll qualify for the assessment and ultrasound totally free. Also, a gift that can produce powerful results in the bedroom in minutes. You're gonna love that, guys. And today only, we're offering 6 tune-up treatments to our patients free. This is our most lucrative offer ever, worth $1,200, but call today, Wednesday, and qualify totally free. 913-295-8000. That's 913-295-8000. Guys, put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and get your love life back. Call Oak Ridge Medical Clinic now to qualify. This offer ends today. 913-295-8000.
In these trying times, Kansas City Credit Union knows how important cash flow is in your household. With rates near all-time lows, now's the time to take action. Free up some cash by lowering your monthly car loan payment when you refinance your auto loan with Kansas City Credit Union. And as a bonus, Kansas City Credit Union will delay your payments for 90 days. Visit kansascitycreditunion.com/810sports for more information. Kansas City Credit Union, your path to financial freedom.
Hey friends, it's Debbie here, manager at Rooster's Men's Grooming Center in Parkville. When was the last time you received a consistent, exceptional service from a highly trained barber? I have been cutting hair for years, and it's my goal to make sure you look your absolute best when you walk out of Rooster's. Come see me and any of my highly trained professionals if you want to look like a new man. Mention 810 and receive $5 off your next service. Relax, rest, and restore at Rooster's Men's Grooming Center in Parkville.
A1 Mortgage, born and raised right here in beautiful Lee Summit and serving all our friends in the Kansas City area for over 15 years. We take care of our community and we want to take care of you. Whether you are purchasing your first home or your fifth home, call 816-822-8888 or go online at a1mortgage.com and let A1 Mortgage provide our unbeatable customer service. Maybe you're looking for a refinance to pay off some bills. Let A1 Mortgage get you locked into the best program for you and your family. A1 Mortgage is a local veteran-owned business that serves you, Kansas City. We'll find you the best deal for your new home, refinance, or cash out. Call the A1 Mortgage team at 816-822-8888. That's 822-8888 or online at a1mortgage.com.
A1 Mortgage, making your dreams a reality is what we do.
A1 Mortgage Group, LLC, a Kansas and Missouri licensed mortgage company, NMLS 268370. Terms and conditions apply, subject to change without notice.
WHB Kansas City.
Kansas, DraftKings Sportsbook is coming to the Sunflower State, and to celebrate, all new customers will receive $100 in free bets when you sign up using the code 810WHB. Plus, one lucky customer will receive a $100,000 free bet. That's right, DraftKings Sportsbook is giving you $100 in free bets just for signing up today. No deposit required. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and sign up with code 810WHB to get $100 in free bets to use once mobile sports betting hits Kansas. Plus, one customer will win a $100,000 free bet. That's code 810WHB only at DraftKings Sportsbook.
Gambling problem? Getting help is your best bet. Call 800-522-4700. 21 plus, physically present in Kansas. Eligibility restrictions apply. See terms at DraftKings.com/sportsbook. Subject to regulatory licensing requirements. One per customer. $100 issued as $425 free bets. No purchase necessary for sweepstakes. Void where prohibited. Ends first day DraftKings is allowed to operate in Kansas. See terms at dkng.co/ks.
Oh, are you seeing these readings? This is incredible.
Short-staffed, Marco's climate research facility is in the eye of the storm. The atmospheric pressure to find more weather specialists is mounting.
Man, this is going to be a big job. We're going to need a bigger team.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson.
There a couple of times on Pleasure.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, so I didn't notice it when I was saying it, but we've had texts to the text line, to the personal text line, to my phone, and then also tweets about Justin Herbert's rankings sounded like 8675309. And so I'm like, okay, let me look back over it. And his ranking was 35865798664.
You got to really get the cadence. You got to give us the cadence.
8657986. I got it. You got it.
I don't know why I instinctively started dancing like a Charlie Brown character, but that's what that kind of brought out in me there.
You did do that. And I appreciate those that got the Moon River reference. I appreciate that. Shout out.
It's so important that we have an audience who gets your references.
It is important, yes.
It's never going to happen in studio, so you got to get the validation through the text line on that one.
Unless somebody that is older than 15 years old is going to be in studio with us, which is not Mick Schaefer.
Yeah.
Because as you can imagine, Mick Schaefer is very busy today, as a lot of us in the media are with the news of Lynn Dawson passing. Although we aren't any more busy than we would be. We're just doing 4 hours. Whereas Mick Schaefer is doing live shows and live hits, and he's all throughout the day and doing different packages on Lynn Dawson and things like that. So he's got his part-time job that he has to do today, so he misses out on his full-time job, which is here from 1 to 2.
And usually they don't make him work at 41. So this is a pretty big turnaround for him.
Typically, like, working that many hours straight has got to be tough for him because he's got that split shift. You know, he does a few hours, goes home for a few hours, heads back to the office for a few hours, and then calls it a day. Goes home, watches some Netflix or Prime, and then like 2 o'clock in the morning goes to sleep. Next day does it all over again. You know, so
we all have
this many hours in a row.
We all have a lot of screens pointed at us all the time. You know, especially like in here. Like right now, you've got
3.
2 that are turned off back there, plus 2 TVs up here.
That's a good point. I got 2 TVs. I've got my computer. I've got my iPad, and I've got my phone all right in front of me. And then, only 2 of the 3 TVs are on. I mean, come on, what are we doing?
All right, that's true. I can turn this TV on. Drake's probably got like a dozen.
He's got like 12 screens.
But I don't know if there's a human being on planet Earth who is surrounded by a screen more often than Mick, which I just pick out because working in TV, and he has seen every single show that has ever aired on any streaming service or over-the-air broadcast television.
Mick Schaefer?
Just feels like he's seen everything.
He doesn't watch anything.
He's seen it all, man.
He never watches anything. Like, anytime we talk about TV shows, like, I don't know, I'll take your word for it. Blah, blah. St. John watches maybe everything.
He watches a lot. I think we gotta, next time we get Mick in, a month or two from now, whenever he decides to come back again, we oughta see if Mick can go through his Rolodex. We talked a lot of TV with him.
Is he playing golf on Friday? Is he going to be here on Friday?
Every conversation I've ever had with Mick, the first thing he says to me in that conversation is, "Oh, I'm sorry. Were you talking to me?"
Is this a running theme, or it's just simply like he doesn't expect you to talk to him?
That's pretty much it, yeah.
I always like when Mick is hanging out with us that anytime I give a stat out, he'll then sort of go into a trance and be like, oh, I missed everything that you just said there. I don't know. So had I been reading those numbers, he would not have heard 8675309. He would have heard wah, 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 wah.
We need to get him. That's two Peanuts references in one segment.
How about that?
That's incredible. We need to get Mick like a little, I don't know if it's like a little fidget toy or just something to help him focus. Maybe just a little flag he can wave whenever he like wants to silently admit that he wasn't listening. So if he just has a little white flag he can wave around, then we can just, behind the scenes, theater of the mind, kind of restate it so he's paying attention that time.
If we just put a bell near him so when we see him go off in a trance, ding,
I like that
wakes
a lot.
up.
That has a payoff for the
dog.
audience also. Yeah.
Exactly right. They hear the bell and they know that Mick Schaefer was starting to doze off.
Yes.
Was starting to just trail off into a trance of anything but the numbers that I was like. If I sat here and was like, okay, well, Mick, Brady Singer in his last 17 starts since he's been called back up. You're talking about 104 innings pitched, 3.11 ERA, 1.13 WHIP. He's got only 28 walks with 108 strikeouts so far. That's in 17 games since he's been called back up.
I'm
so
on TV a lot.
you think maybe he's turned the corner?
People love me.
Oh, sorry, what? Sorry. What was that?
And this is the interaction we have with Mick. He's not even here yet. We are presenting the show. If Mick Schaefer were to be here, nobody even knows he's not here.
We ended up just being on the same page and doing it live, but I did write down the phrase Mick Trance bit because I do think that this could be a rich vein of you just desperately trying to like explain a baseball thing, and Mick is trying to figure out if his swimsuit is clean or not.
Couple things to get into with the NFL that we can talk about. The news on J.C. Jackson, which I think is really interesting because of the timing of it. He's expected to miss 2 to 4 weeks with ankle surgery. 4 weeks would put him out until after week 2.
Short week that week as well.
Short week. So if he's out 3 weeks, you wonder if he misses week 1, is he then going to play in week 2 with a short week? Unless he misses week 1 because he's been practicing and they just don't want to put him in the game, but had the game been 2 or 3 days later, he would have played, and therefore his debut would be week 2. It seems like it's all but a certainty from those around the Chargers that he will not be playing against the Raiders in week 1. That is a long shot for him to make it. But after that, it's sort of up in the air. Chiefs game, certainly could play. But the reason people are saying probably not the Raiders is even if it's 2 weeks, if you've been out for as long as he has, and you're missing 2 weeks before you can come back from the surgery, then as you get back into football shape, are you going to be out there for the Raiders game? That seems like a long shot. Chiefs is more reasonable, but as it stands right now, I would guess he's not going to play. And even if he does, he hasn't gone through preseason practices and training camp and probably week number 1. So that matters. It's a big game on Thursday night at home, Amazon Prime, and without one of the biggest acquisitions by the Chargers in the offseason, Khalil Mack probably being the biggest. But J.C. Jackson is a guy that is just a turnover machine. Like, that's what the Chargers did. The Chargers have bought in, and this is a Brandon Staley thing. So, if you almost said Stanley. Staley?
Staley, you're good. Ronnie Stanley is the Ravens tackle.
Right.
Brandon Staley is the
and Stuttering
Chargers head coach.
Stanley.
I don't know who that is.
So, Brandon Staley.
Stanley.
In his...
I thought it might get you.
I
thought that might get
son
you.
of a...
All right.
In his advanced analytics world that has been praised and also made fun of at the same time.
Kind of like people might be working from their priors.
He is a believer in the run game doesn't hurt you as much as the pass game.
Yep.
Okay? So they built their defense on we don't care about stopping the run. We care about stopping the pass. Well, then that got extreme to where they were giving up 7 or 8 yards per carry, and at that point it just mitigates now it's more important to stop the pass because the runs are becoming way more efficient like a pass play would. So now you've gone to the extreme.
Right.
So what they've done in the offseason is they brought in guys who are also good run defenders. Khalil Mack, one of the better edge run defenders that's out there. A couple of moves on the interior as well. But they've also brought in guys who have been around the football and have caused turnovers that they might get beat a number of times, but they also might pick one off here or there. And now the strategy being, okay, the defense isn't going to be to the level of the offense. We do want to be better at stopping the run, but we're not going to focus on stopping the run. We're still going to focus on passing defense, and we're probably not going to focus on shut down passing defense. We're going to focus on turnover makers, which is risky because those things come and go for different years.
Yeah.
But it's a different philosophy than last year when the Chargers defense was so bad because they couldn't stop anybody running. And when you had to start adjusting for that because the running became just as efficient as passing, you were toast. So they made moves this offseason, but they have invested in risk-reward players. And J.C. Jackson is that guy. He will get beat. He'll also intercept the football.
23 passes defended last year. He also had 58 tackles, 44 of them solo for a corner. Like, he's an excellent. I think you could probably argue the bigger acquisition between him and Khalil Mack, which is high praise for both of them. The philosophical thing, I think, is such a fun topic because I love a video game analogy.
What?
And I know. And one of my favorite things in video games is like the character creation. You can do it with a sports video game series, well, obviously. Your Madden or your 2K or whatever. I think in terms of Mario Baseball a lot because I think I played that game just a ton as a kid.
Interesting. I didn't know there was a Mario Baseball.
There are several.
See,
the GameCube one's the best. It still is.
My baseball as a kid was RBI Baseball. Yours is Mario Baseball.
I had a RBI Baseball over on the DS. I think they made one. Not that one.
Go ahead.
That was pretty good.
Sorry.
I just kind of started enjoying
You went
listening
back to RBI
that.
Baseball for a second,
Yeah,
didn't
I
you?
really did. That was nice. But in any game where you're creating a character or if you're drafting players from a pool, you typically, this kind of maybe even is our quarterback ranking thing as well, you typically don't want somebody who is maxed out in like 2 places and then is out of 1 somewhere else. You have a role for your Bowsers in Mario Baseball. He's hitting for power, but he's not. You don't want to steal. So anyway, all that to say, there is some value in balance. But there's more than anything else. I don't like it when NFL teams use that word most of the time. Balance oftentimes I think is translated to 50-50 balance.
Yeah.
And that's not really what balance means. Balance means a sort of a harmonious nature that gets you to where you want to be. In terms of really, I guess, both sides of the ball, but particularly defense in this case, you need to have a run defense that is just good enough to keep teams from looking at that as a glaring weakness that you don't care about.
Right.
You must be this tall to ride. Now, I would not keep investing beyond that point. I want to hit that threshold and say, hey, right now, I think the Chiefs are at this spot. Maybe the Chiefs might be past this spot now, honestly. But you say, hey, we are passably good against the run. If you run the ball against us, we're going to give up 3-point-some yards per carry. You're not going to run the ball against us every single time, and we're going to limit the big plays and be good enough, and then we're going to invest in the more explosive thing, stopping the pass. To your point, I don't think the Chargers met that threshold last year.
No.
I think they probably will this year, and that unit gets a lot better. But also, opening with the Cardinals and the Chargers, now without J.C. Jackson, the defenses the Chiefs, specifically the pass defenses the Chiefs are facing, not quite as spooky as it looked when the schedule dropped. That's kind of interesting.
But the pass rusher in the second week with Bosa and Mack, is scary.
Different story. That is Pacific Rim. You've got aliens and robots coming off the edges there.
Is that another video game?
That's a movie. Pacific Rim was a movie. Pretty good, actually.
Sorry.
Kind of a brawler movie.
Never seen it.
It was good.
It was not good.
It was pretty good. Pacific Rim.
By the way,
oh boy, I think history's you're gonna be on the wrong side of history here, Drake.
I know. Really, is history gonna be like, you don't think Pacific Rim is good? To hell with you! Damn him outside! Kick him off this island. You are the weakest link, sir.
Rotten Tomatoes for Pacific Rim, 72% from critics, 77% from the audience.
Anyway, whether you like it or not,
And I do.
the best part about that, and I know we are on the TV or the stream as well, the video side of it. I wish there was a view from my point of view to Drake, because, as you said, Pacific Rim pretty good. He was leaning back and he just went like, oh, and leaned up and just in the microphone like, you Pacific Rim. It was great. It was the immediate reaction of just like
this. It's not even like my genre typically. I just think it was one of the best of sort of those monster versus giant robot type of. You know, I haven't seen like the Godzilla versus Kong one or whatever. But yeah, but I mean,
I've seen Godzilla Kong. It's a good movie.
I heard it was pretty good. No, how dare you?
It's a good movie.
Not in my house. How dare you use those words?
It's a good flick. And now I need to check out Rotten Tomatoes with Godzilla versus Kong.
I think I got decent reviews. I just thought, look, I have not had anybody push back on my pretty lukewarm Pacific Rim was pretty good take as hard as Drake just did. So
91%
for Godzilla Kong.
Godzilla, 91%. 75 with the critics, 91 with the viewers. I don't care about the critics, by the way.
If you get 3/4 of critics to say that your movie about a giant ape fighting a giant dragon is good, that's a good movie.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. And I don't care that only 75% of the critics liked it. I care that 91% of the those that were watching it liked it. I always wonder, too, like those that are voting or that are giving their rating on that. If you're watching Godzilla versus Kong, you're probably already wanting to be in that genre and looking forward to that. So are you then convincing yourself before you, because the long-awaited huge blockbuster of Godzilla versus Kong, if you go into that, like, yes, I can't wait. And it's like, you know what? I enjoyed it. 100%.
100%.
I enjoyed it. 100%. I've been waiting for it.
No notes.
I always wonder with those specific sort of genre types that are off on their own and not just a general, like, this is a rom-com, this is a drama, this is a murder mystery, this is just a straight comedy, which is always difficult because a comedy that the critics like, just so rare.
It really is. What was the last? Rare. Is there a good one of those that like is universally beloved? Because I think even some of those that were universal. Someone's gonna yell at me. It might be you. I hadn't seen The Hangover, and so I finally watched it like a few years ago. It just didn't do anything for me. Like it just fell flat. Like it wasn't. I don't know. Maybe it was overhyped. Maybe I expected too much of it because I saw it 10 years after it came out.
Anchorman got 66% of critics liked Anchorman, which is brilliant.
Really good.
79% for The Hangover for critics only.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Critics specifically, 79% for that. What are the other comedies that are just like, okay, this is a universally loved comedy?
I'm on it.
Movie.
I'm on editorial.rottentomatoes.com, just waiting for the Wi-Fi to kick in.
Okay.
Any day now.
It's gonna happen.
Still just spinning.
Let's see, Ace Ventura. Which, by the way, Corey hates. Like, Ace Ventura, so stupid. It got 32% by audience, and
what? Really?
Yeah, 0% by. What about When Nature Calls? Ace Ventura Part. Yeah.
I'm starting very old. The number one on here is City Lights, starring Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah,
so
no,
a bit old.
I don't think that's gonna.
Airplane though, 1980.
Okay.
Monty Python, you're in 70s. I'm trying to find
anything since the 90s.
Big Lebowski.
Okay. Critics like that one?
I think so.
I feel like that was one that would just be 50%. Like you either like it or you hate it. Like there's hardly a kind of just a lukewarm view of
83% of critics on Big Lebowski.
Good for them.
Princess Bride and Groundhog Day, both 97% from critics.
Oh, interesting.
Still all 80s and 90s, though. I'm going to find one that starts with a 2.
I wonder what the highest rated slapstick, like, comic would be. Because I think Step Brothers is amazing.
Step Brothers, I feel like, is a pretty good bet.
Step Brothers got 55% from critics.
Shaun of the Dead got 92%, 2004.
Yeah, I don't even know what that is.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, that's a good one.
Bridesmaids was very well received.
Yeah,
I didn't see it.
It's a good one. Bridesmaids was a good one.
I don't like to watch things with cursing in it, so I missed that one.
Is that right? Yeah. You don't watch cursing?
Yeah, I'd like to keep
it. I bet that's
PG.
I bet that's probably right.
Up in this mother bleeper.
Mm-hmm. The Other Guys.
I'm having a very hard time finding modern comedies that did well.
I love The Other Guys, and so that got 78%. How about this? The Other Guys, 78% from critics, 60% from the audience.
Wow.
That sounded like Beards, by the way. Wow. That is a shocker.
Yeah, Anchorman here, 66%, huh? That seems really low. We just Hey, here's one from 2003. Universally beloved. You've seen it, I'm sure, 5,000 times. 85% from critics for Elf.
Yeah, I mean,
do you still like Elf? Because I had a time when I did,
like
but
Elf.
I don't need to see it. At least I think I need a couple years away from Elf. You know, we need to take a break. We need to pause our Christmas relationship. I think I would really appreciate Elf if I didn't have it for like 1 year.
Talladega Nights got 71%.
Super Bad 87. Hot Fuzz 91.
Curious George got 70%. Otherwise known as Furious George. It's the only reason I brought it up. Is because of
Borat got 90% from critics.
Wedding Crasher 75%.
What year was that?
That was in 2005. Yep, that's a good one. Old School got 60%, but 86% from the audience. So there you go.
8675309 there.
So cool. I appreciate your Pacific Rim analogy in comparison.
Yeah, I should have saved that for a shot clock review. I guess I didn't know that it was going to be so controversial.
Apparently, that was kind of a shot clock review we just did right there.
It was. We had some shot clock violations,
no doubt. And we got there by talking about the Chargers' run defense. So that is...
We're really finding our footing.
Whatever labyrinth we went around to find the exit for that.
The weird thing is the Chargers play on the Pacific Rim.
Hey!
That's exactly
Which
right.
sucks!
That's exactly right. And Brandon Staley is not old school.
That's true.
And
he's building robots.
Their run defense was very elfish, okay? And sometimes the decisions he made were viewed as stranger than fiction.
There it is. Picking any team other than the Chiefs in the AFC West is funny. Because Patrick Mahomes is throwing balls to space. 56% from critics.
Are you trying to make a Spaceballs reference, but you changed balls to space? You can't just flip it around. Because it's 2, Anchorman. I meant Anchorman 2. I just flipped it. It's a better movie. It's not really, but I flipped it. You see what I did there? I went Anchorman 2. Lander Zoo.
This
Lebowski the Big.
I like to. People don't know this, but I like to refer to you as my with the nickname of one of my favorite historical figures. And I just think that this segment has been dynamite, Napoleon.
Yeah. Okay, I wish I was hanging out with the other guys right now.
There it is. Boom.
Much better.
Land of the plane. Closing the tab.
Yep.
That was good. You win.
And every single offseason.
Gotta do it again.
Every single offseason, the Chargers winning. It is very old school.
Kansas City's hometown sports station, Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Coach Reed runs a tough training camp. It's kind of what we've been known for. I think it makes us better for it.
I thought it was great for the young guys to see that and feel that you have to come out here every day in the right mindset.
You saw offense have good days, you saw defense have good days, and that's usually a good sign for a good football team.
When you want the latest on your favorite teams, tune into your hometown radio station, Sports Radio 810 WHB.
I know starting September 1st with DraftKings, I can bet on who will win the regular season, whether it's regular season, the division, the conference, the Super Bowl. Will DraftKings allow me next offseason to bet on who will win the offseason? Because the huge favorites in the clubhouse have to be the Chargers each and every year. I'm not sure you can do that, but I am sure starting September 1st, you're going to be able to place a wager and bet on all your favorite sports from the comfort of your own home with DraftKings Sportsbook here in the state of Kansas. And to celebrate, all new customers will receive $100 in free bets when you sign up using code 810WHB. 810WHB. Plus, one lucky customer will win a $100,000 free bet. That's right, DraftKings Sportsbook is giving you $100 in free bets just for signing up today. No deposit required. And soon you'll be able to bet on money lines and spreads and props and more with one of America's top-rated sportsbook apps, DraftKings Sportsbook. Plus, you're going to be entered to win a $100,000 free bet when you sign up. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and sign up with code 810WHB to get $100 in free bets to use once mobile sports betting hits Kansas. Plus, again, one customer will win a $100,000 free bet. That's code 810WHB only at DraftKings Sportsbook.
Gambling problem? Getting help is your best bet. Call 800-522-4700. 21 plus, physically present in Kansas. Eligibility restrictions apply. See terms at DraftKings.com/sportsbook. Subject to regulatory license.
Tex had said, what about Dumb and Dumber and sort of that slapstick?
Yeah.
So now I'm looking up Dumb and Dumber for the Rotten Tomatoes. What the, that's 67% from critics?
That's not bad.
How?
Jim Carrey.
Wow.
Jim Carrey's funny. People like him.
Also, Forgetting Sarah Marshall got like 80% or something.
We're like forgetting to watch that movie.
Yeah, you should definitely check it out.
I had a really...
If for no other reason, to continue to see that Paul Rudd no matter how big or small the role, continues to steal the show.
Yeah, no, that's true. I need to round out my my Paul Rudd Rolodex a little bit.
Something about Mary got 83%.
I was trying to find during the
one.
break. I didn't find the answer to this question, but I was Googling how much does Elf make every year because I was sort of curious if there's any sort of just flat number of hey, what do you think it? I didn't find it during the break. So that's not important.
Cool.
Here's what is important. I was typing how much does Elf into my Google search bar.
Yep. Yeah, that makes sense.
If you hit space, even the first autofilled result. How much does Elf ear surgery cost?
What's the answer?
I don't.
I'm curious. I wanna know.
Typical cost on average, the Elf ear procedure costs $2,500 to $7,500 to be performed by a plastic surgeon. So if you're interested in getting your ears pointy, I guess you could do that. Look, I'm no prude.
Well, that's really being committed to the bit. If you want to,
it really is.
I'm playing an elf for Christmas. It's a Christmas play. Well,
I've got tattoos. I'm gonna get more. You do your body modification. You want your piercings or whatever. Great, go do your thing, man. I'm not gonna get like gauges, but I get it. I do. Permanently getting elf ears is a lot of commitment, as you said. That's a lot of commitment to the bit there. You gotta really want to just be an elf to pay to get your ears pointed.
Hey.
I don't know. That just sort of took my breath away. And like I said, I am not like a body modification prude.
To each their own. Also,
sure, yeah,
shocking.
Won't be me.
Big Daddy only 39% from critics. That was really surprising. Big Daddy only 39%.
They sell
from
like
critics.
They sell like wax elf ear caps or whatever, like Renaissance festivals for like $1. I've not purchased them myself, but I've seen them there before. You can put one of those on, but is that like saying, "Oh, why are you getting a tattoo? Just make it a T-shirt." It's not the same thing. I know. I get it.
It's fine.
I was surprised to find out this was a thing, which makes me a sweet summer child because I should have known that this was a thing. You can modify anything.
We had talked about in the previous segment about J.C. Jackson, an NFL nugget, that J.C. Jackson having ankle surgery, going to miss 2 to 4 weeks. We'll see if he's going to be available for week number 2 against the Chiefs, who will be going up against the Chargers on a Thursday night football. So even if he misses week number 1, we'll see if he's going to be out then for week number 2. Derek Gore placed on the IR. He will be done for the season. So that's certainly of note.
Very much so. That's how they got down to 80. It was IRing Derek Gore and then Lucas Niang to pup.
Niang, yep.
We're probably going to get something on Blake Bell by the 53, I would think. But they might want to try to get him on the active roster and then IR him after that. But that would make a cut down happen.
And also, so to IR designated to return, you have to be on the 53. Correct. Also, I believe the pup, if you start training camp and you're not on the pup and you go on the pup during training camp, you have to be on the 53-man roster, the final cutdown, to then be you can return in the first 6 weeks or whatever it is. So there's a lot of different rules. Either way, he's going to have to make the 53-man roster, and then they would make a subsequent move after that. I don't know what that subsequent move would be. But, is it another tight end, or you put him on the 53-man roster as the 4th tight end that you would have had anyway, and then you make a move like, another wide receiver comes on the team, or another running back or something that, okay, we're going 3 tight ends, so let's keep another running back here, or a bigger, wide receiver. Maybe a Josh Gordon then makes the club if
they could probably cut Josh Gordon and pick him right back up again if they needed to do that maneuvering or whatever, or it could be get to 53, IR Blake Bell for designated to return, and then just sign the biggest blocking tight end you can find. Because Blake Bell has more value in this offense than most people give him credit for.
I agree. And they wanted Kendall Blanton, so you know that it's not going to be soon. And that's exactly what Andy Reid said yesterday, that it won't be soon when Blake Bell will return. So, is there a chance maybe that Blake Bell is just simply put on the IR in general? Like after the surgery, you get a better idea. How did he respond? Is this something that it just might be a season for Blake Bell? They put Derek Gore on that, and he broke his thumb, and he's done for the year on a broken thumb. Okay, he's not done for the year. This is a way he can get some money.
That's right.
You're still with the Chiefs, and
try
we're sort of maneuver.
Yep.
Yeah, try again. We were going to cut you, Derek, or we can put you on IR for the season. You're going to get some money, and you'll be around next year. Cool.
Probably helps Ronald Jones's case. If the Chiefs do just want to have, with fear of attrition, got to have 4 guys. They're definitely going to carry somebody on the practice squad. I would bet September 1st couldn't get here fast enough for me to bet on them having a running back on the practice squad.
Yeah, the impact of Derek Gore, because I didn't think Derek Gore was going to make the squad anyway, but the impact of Derek Gore is if he didn't make the squad, I highly doubt he would have been picked up by another team.
Yep.
So you might have been able to then move him to the practice squad, which is where he's been off and on the last couple of years. And if somebody were to go down, you can elevate Derek Gore and feel like, okay, this is a guy that's been in the system. He knows the offense. He played last year. He had a couple of bright spots last year. Rough first preseason game. You can bring him in. Without that, do you then go, all right, you got to go 4 running backs because if you cut Jerick McKinnon, he's going to be gone. If you cut Ronald Jones, somebody's going to pick him up. Pacheco, maybe he slides to the practice squad if you release him. You're not doing that with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So if Pacheco's your return man and he's been getting first-team reps, he's probably on the team. So is it more advantageous without Derek Gore being a backup at the practice squad to come in and play to keep a Ronald Jones at that point?
And I don't know if you saw this. It kind of slipped by earlier. I forgot about it until just now. A couple reports indicate that Darrell Williams could be a surprise cut in Arizona.
Wow, boy.
So if that ends up coming to fruition, I don't think it's a guarantee that he is brought back. But I think the Chiefs could say we'd rather have Darrell Williams or Ronald Jones.
But here's the thing, though. Didn't they have the opportunity to sign him? He signed for less money than Ronald Jones, right? Didn't Darrell Williams? He didn't sign for much. It was like barely over $1 million for him.
I think this would be more of a whoops sort of signing than a sweet. Because Darrell sat out there for a little while, too.
Yeah,
he was a free agent for a bit.
I know I broke up with you.
Uh-huh.
But I know that now you are single again. I just wanted to say that having been without you for a little bit, I am just curious if you would like to maybe give us another try.
It's kind of interesting.
Darrell Williams,
it would be weird. It would be very strange to be Darrell Williams in that spot, I think.
Yeah.
But specifically in that third down role, if they're not, maybe they're confident enough in Pacheco. But if they don't think that Pacheco's run blocking is there yet, I actually do think this could make some sense.
You know what I'd really like to see? I'd like to see Ronald Jones with the first team. I'd like to see if he can...
too, with an offensive line.
If he can read the blocks the way that Edwards-Helaire and Pacheco are not doing right now.
Yeah, good point.
See if he can then read the ass of Trey Smith and say, well, this is my read off of this, inside zone. If he can see the linebacker that's scraping down to the edge, which is going to open up this hole over there so Edwards-Helaire doesn't then skip over to where the linebacker is scraping instead of just simply trusting it. Jones, to me... I think Jerick McKinnon's the most talented player of the running backs. I don't have anything to where I can say this is why or that's why.
Right.
It's just a personal preference, right? But I think Ronald Jones might be the best pure runner. Like running back, here's the football, there's the blocking, go read it, patience, or hit the hole, or see where the hole is going to open up, slide through this little sliver that's there that maybe nobody else does. I think he might be the best pure player from that standpoint, yet also what seems to be the most likely cut candidate if they only keep 3 running backs and 1 fullback.
Yep. But if now Gore, here's one other wrinkle on that. If they do think that Gore was going to be a practice squad, a pretty easy practice squad transition, but if they're concerned that Ronald Jones might not be, now you can't let Ronald Jones go and then have him in your back pocket. So you're probably carrying 4 again. I think it might have been Matt Derrick that said like the Chiefs flatly want to have 4 running backs on their roster, plus Michael Burton presumably.
So it's really, we say 4, but we're talking about specific halfbacks and 1 full. Like the 1 full, it's going to be 4 or 5.
Right.
If they keep 3 running backs, it's going to be 4 running back room, and if they keep 4 running backs, it's going to be 5 in the running back room because they are keeping Michael Burton. He's also I believe he's a 4-phase special teams guy.
Yes, he is a Dave Tobe Gold Star candidate.
I looked it up. He's actually not a 4-phase guy. There is at least one that he is not. There are 5 players.
I don't think he's covering kicks. If I'm just judging real quick, 'cause I know he was on the field for kick returns in the second.
He's on kick returns.
He's the personal protector in the punt, right?
He absolutely is.
So he might not be out there for field goals. I don't know.
Well, I mean, just punt, return, kick, return.
Yeah, so I'm guessing he might not be on the kicking team, would be my guess.
Yeah, like I looked through it in the last couple of games to say, okay, who is the first team kickoff, kick return, punt coverage, punt return, and like how many of those guys show up and who are like the 4-phase guys? There are 5 guys that Dave Tobe has on kick return, punt return. 5 guys that he has on there, on all of them.
Right.
Elijah Lee, which is why he's going to make the team over Jermaine Carter.
Yep.
Brian Cook, he's going to make the team anyway.
Yep.
Noah Gray, he's going to make the team anyway. Deion Bush, going to make the team, even if he was close to, like, is he the fourth corner or fourth safety? He's going to make the team.
Yes.
And Chris Lamons is the fifth one.
Probably make the team.
Yeah. Now,
all those guys are faster than Burton, so I'm guessing that that's just the differentiation there. Last year, Burton played just under half the special team snaps. Again, now that's 207 snaps, and I don't know.
But if you're looking at, like,
I spice that up.
Let's say wide receivers, though. If you're talking about who the fifth or sixth wide receiver is, it's split up between Reese Fountain and Justin Watson. Justin Watson is on punt coverage and punt return. Reese Fountain is on kick coverage and kick return. Obviously,
a little bigger.
By the way, no Josh Gordon, right?
No.
Any of the other. No Corey Coleman. None of those guys that are on two different phases of what is an important one. So if you're saying they're going to keep 6 receivers, then Dave Tobe, of the first teamers he has thrown out so far in the first 2 preseason games, would have his guys that are, those 2 receivers combined for a 4-phase guy. Reese Fountain on kickoffs and Justin Watson on the 2 phases of punts. So if you go the 4 that we've talked about and then Watson and Reese, Dave Tobe also gets his guy. You stay with Chris Lamons, Dave Tobe gets his guy. Elijah Lee over Jermaine Carter, which I think is going to happen anyway, Dave Tobe gets his guy. And Brian Cook and Deion Bush are going to be on the team anyway.
I was about to say that we've talked a lot about special teams on this show, but I'm changing that to I think this show might be the only one in America that has talked about special teams as much as Dave Tobe would like for us to.
That's probably
right. We have really we don't cover this very well. We have fixed that for you. We are your home for special teams analysis in Kansas City. We've got you.
All right, let's get into shot clock reviews before we take a break. These will be quick because these are on like 24-second takes, right?
24-second takes. We've got 3 of us, ideally 2 each. If we run out of time, we can pare it down to 1.
It's like 2 minutes.
We should be able to make that
happen.
happen.
2 minutes. If the 24, throw in, it's like 2.5 minutes.
You gotta make sure you collect. Drake, you can go third on this one, so you can watch Jason and I go through it once. I'll go first. Hit the shot clock. I was playing the Oculus last night at a friend's house. The first time I've used a full VR headset. Played some Beat Saber, some Super Hot, and a game called Pistol Whip. I was sort of prepared to be a little bit of a grumpy old man on VR and say, it doesn't quite work. I don't like. It's crazy, dude. It is disorienting, but it was an absolute blast. I might be in on the VR stuff. I don't need the metaverse, but I would like to be able to play Beat Saber to Fall Out Boy songs more often. That was a 9 out of 10 experience.
Very good. Good for you.
Thank you.
I didn't know that playing a game called Pistol Whip was something you can do online.
The VR stuff is nuts.
I played a game called Pistol Whip, and turns out Road Rage. I was mad at the wrong guy. So
I was pistol whipping a character in VR, and I knocked my friend's tooth out because he walked in front of me.
We played a game called Pistol Whip, and I lost. So that's not good. All right, let's get into my shot clock review. I'm going to go with the media game on Friday night at the current game. It's the first one I've ever participated in, so it was awesome that they invited me to do that. And then Danny Welniak has me out there for the ceremonial first kick. We're on the video board. It was so cool. I wish I hadn't been the reason that Team Electric ended up losing. I continue to apologize to Kent Swanson because he would have had a goal there if it was not for me. But I had a blast, and I think the next time I do that, I'll just not really participate and just stay on the side while being a part of it. I gave it a 5.5 out of 10.
Fair enough.
It would have been a 10 out of 10 if I wouldn't have whiffed on the goal.
Yeah. I think that is appropriately selfish.
Also, shot clock violation.
Maybe next year, volunteer to be the goalie. Just see how that feels. Get yourself some gloves ahead of time.
Some hard kicks, man.
They are. Yeah, I did that one year.
I'm gonna have to buy that those Luigi and Mario gloves.
That's perfect. You should do that. Drake, what you got?
Well, I had to take a little trip this weekend up to Pewaukee, Wisconsin to buy siding because my siding I bought 3 years ago was discontinued. So I had to go to a hardware store up there. They had some sitting out on the loading dock that had been there for 5 years. It was a little moldy, but it's going to work. I saw a rat in the store. On my way back, I went to a minor league baseball game in Cedar Rapids, which is Mike Bodeker's hometown, and the street right next to the stadium is named after Kurt Warner. There is no Mike Bodeker Street.
What? Rank out of 10. Rank out of 10. The experience.
7.
Not
7
bad.
out of 10.
Not bad. By the way, Drake. That is a great review. I am glad I got the conclusion of the story that we talked about off the air a few weeks ago, and that you had been doing the siding on your house for so many years, and you are about to finish it, and then you realize that the siding has been discontinued.
I was halfway through doing the front.
Yes. And all of a sudden it's discontinued.
I was so worried that you were going to get there and not have
You
it.
either find that siding somewhere or you start over.
There were a couple more in central Michigan, but Wisconsin was a lot closer.
Wow, what a trip.
I'm so glad that you got him in.
All right, Josh.
Here's my next one. I want to talk about the Kendrick Lamar show at the T-Mobile Center on Sunday. It was fantastic. The set list was ridiculous. It was one of those things where you start finally realizing it's just like, oh, every single song here, every single person knows every single word of. It is a truly like incredible experience, and being able to see Kendrick live really feels like one of those things that I'm going to remember in the future. Oh, yeah, I saw him whenever he was one of the biggest acts in the world. Also, good performance by the T-Mobile Center crowd. Kansas City knew enough of the words, knew also which ones not to say. 9 out of 10.
Good for them.
Good work, Kansas City.
9 out of 10. Well done. All right, my second shot clock review will be about the TV show on Apple Plus of For All Mankind.
Ooh.
And that it's season 3. I've enjoyed.
Hold on. We have refs having a malfunction.
It's just not coming through.
Refs having a malfunction. I'm excited. I hope this is good.
You want to just click on your with a stopwatch going on?
Yeah. Absolutely. Oh, no, you're good. Okay.
Yes.
All Mankind.
So Apple TV Plus For All Mankind. It is an alternate universe of if the Russians had beat the United States to the moon and what would happen after that, and the NASA race and all that. It's really interesting. I've enjoyed it. They have these leap forwards at the end of each season that they go from like the 70s up to like mid 90s, and now they have leapt forward up to 2003. There's some cliffhangers. You have to suspend reality on the whole thing. There's a little too much suspending reality on some of it. I like the show, but I gave this last season like a 6.
Okay, all right. Out of 10. It's just important. It's always out of 10. Otherwise, it could be. But it's 6 out of 5.
Out of 11, really.
You're making a 6.2 out.
My rankings go to 11.
That's fine. We can adjust for that. All right, Drake, close us out.
Do you have one, or did you have the one?
I'll think of something else. I don't know. I saw that first episode of She-Hulk. It was kind of interesting.
Oh.
I'm a big fan of the Marvel stuff. I was watching it on my phone in a hotel in Cedar Rapids at 10 o'clock at night, so that wasn't my favorite part of it.
Yes.
And one of the things I've never liked about that character is the character breaks the fourth wall and talks to the audience, and they continued that into the TV show, which doesn't seem to fit with the rest of the Marvel universe to me, but I'd still give it a 7.5 out of 10.
Okay, very good.
Okay. I was shocked and taken aback, and then also really enjoyed the fourth wall on Winning Time on HBO when John C. Reilly started talking to the camera. And I thought, this is interesting. And it was awesome.
I like a little fourth wall break.
Loved it. All right, we will take a break this hour and come up and wrap up our fourth hour next.
Hi guys, it's Andrew. Are you struggling with erectile dysfunction and sick of the pills? Well, today, Wednesday, August 24th, we're running an unprecedented one-day special you won't want to miss out on. Oak Ridge Medical Clinic uses the most powerful form of wave therapy. This is a technology clinically shown to repair blood vessels and improve blood flow. Even Cambridge has studied our technology. If you're ready to transform your love life, grab your phone. Today is your day. Call us now and you'll qualify for the assessment and ultrasound totally free. Also, a gift that can produce powerful results in the bedroom in minutes. You're gonna love that, guys. And today only, we're offering 6 tune-up treatments to our patients free. This is our most lucrative offer ever, worth $1,200, but call today, Wednesday, and qualify totally free. 913-295-8000. That's 913-295-8000. Guys, put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and get your love life back. Call Oak Ridge Medical Clinic now to qualify. This offer ends today. 913-295-8000.
For residential and commercial roofing repair and replacement, Gutters 2 in Kansas City and Lawrence, contact Buck.
Or O'Neal Cruz.
So the hardest
breaks the record.
hit ball in over a year
Yes.
happened today with O'Neal Cruz in a game in which the Pirates are losing 9-0. That nobody cares. But also by a rookie.
We got to get these guys. We got to get a super team somewhere. Just call them like Team Earth. Otani, Trout, get them out there.
O'Neal Cruz in his limited time is batting 200 with 10 home runs, though, since he's been up. Feels like 10 games. The program next. Thank you, Drake.
It's football season. Kansas City and Boulevard Brewing Company, along with Tanner's Bar and Grill, have you covered with a winning lineup, including fan favorites, unfiltered wheat beer, Space Camper IPA, and breakout star Quirk Hard Seltzer. Head to your local Tanner's Bar and Grill every Saturday this fall for superstar specials on Boulevard beers and beverages. The perfect teammates for rooting on your favorite college football teams all season long. Please enjoy responsibly.
Listen up, Kansas. DraftKings Sportsbook is coming to the Sunflower State. To celebrate, all new customers will receive $100 in free bets when you sign up using code 810WHB. Plus, one lucky customer will win a $100,000 free bet. That's right. DraftKings Sportsbook is giving you $100 in free bets just for signing up today. No deposit required. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and sign up with code 810WHB to get $100 in free bets to use once mobile sports betting hits Kansas. Plus, one customer will win a $100,000.